Okay,
I
I
missed
will.
it. You know what I'm saying?
Got it. Got it. Yeah.
Okay.
Glad you said something.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, we're live. Okay. Okay.
All right. Well,
All
how's
right, let me
everybody?
make sure. All right, yeah, I'm gonna make sure my TV is mute here. All right, and we're live. So anyway, thanks for joining me tonight. Oh, let me make sure. No, yeah, it was not muted. All right, I got a delay here in front of me in my screen. So, but anyway, thanks for coming on tonight, Toddie. How you doing?
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Kathy. Nice to kind of see you again.
Yeah, it's been a while, man. We haven't really talked to Whittaker stuff for a while, and I haven't covered a whole lot of it myself. So anyway, thanks for coming on. We got a few things we'll talk about. Um, yeah, maybe we'll start up by saying hi to people in the chat. Yeah, so we got Toddie here tonight with us. We're going to talk about, will Eric Carroll be charged in the Whittaker fraud case? Oh, I spelled a 1T. I think I must have been voice to text. So Whittaker fraud case, talking with Toddie about that. She might have a couple little updates for you from the Whittaker
Yeah.
family. And before I forget too, I want to thank Grace in the chat for always being the moderator. And I just want to let people know that we're pretty tolerant. I don't block people that don't agree. But if you get nasty or dox or do something stupid, Grace will time you out. She's been on my channel for about 10 years, so I trust her. And I talk to her pretty much every day on the phone. And so I trust her judgment, and she will probably gracefully, with grace, she will time you out the first time, most likely, in case it's a misunderstanding or something. Maybe a 5 minute timeout. I don't know what she does. But then if you come back a second time and be nasty, then you'll get blocked. So just be kind, courteous. We got a good vibe over here. We got it's a chill environment. There's no um you know I'm not a drama channel, so there ain't going to be no drama. But we are going to go over some things we hope that you find interesting. Uh, anyway, so we want to say hi to everybody and thank everybody for coming in. Miss January, she was the first one in. Thanks for coming in.
Hey guys.
And yeah,
Happy
Toddie.
Friday. Happy
Yeah,
Friday.
yeah. Happy Friday. It's a beautiful day here. Like bears coming out of hibernation here, and it's been just beautiful. I've been out
Oh,
playing outside all week, so uh, TNT, good to see you. T Bro, good to see you, and I hope your wife is doing well. Grace, our moderator, thanks for moderating, being here as always. And let's see. Go down. Who am I missing? Anybody? Oh, Jill and Journey. Thanks for coming in. Tanisha Miller, good to see you. Florida Life in the Sun. Tenacity for Truth, I like that. I like all these names. Dear Jane, good to see you. Florida Life in the Sun. Finally got a little bit of that Florida sunshine here. Who am I missing? Amy. Anybody else? I hope I'm not missing. See, and yeah. Anyway, so thanks for coming in. We're going to go over a few things on the Whittakers. So we'll start out, Toddie. I'll hand it over to you. You can tell us, maybe you might have a couple little updates
now
on.
you know I do, because you wouldn't
Yeah,
set me up
yeah.
to fail.
Right. If you had
Everything,
nothing,
yeah.
we'd both be looking pretty stupid, huh?
Yeah.
All right. Well,
So
go ahead.
all right, so it's not much. I'm still waiting for permission to get into certain things, but everybody is still alive, and so that's a good thing. And I'm not being facetious when I say that. We know the
No.
ages of
Yeah.
these people, and we know what they've been through as far as health-wise as it goes. So there's a few
Yeah.
things that I want to say. So this is from a trusted source. It's not Justin. I'm not trying to poke fun at Justin, but I could hear it in the comments. You know, is it Justin? No, it's not. So the Betty is not coming back, and there's a little bit of division. And I don't know what that is, but Betty is being well taken care of where she's at and more or less protected where she's at, so that things could so that she could, what's the word, decompress from everything and to kind of wrap her head around everything. But she's she's being well taken care of by people that absolutely care for her, and she's really not in touch with anybody. Um, she's more or less gate kept in my, from what I understand, but in a most positive way. You know, she's not restricted in the things that she does, but nobody can just call her and get into her head because, you know, some of us believed that Betty was easily intimidated and easily manipulated, and it seems like maybe that's the truth. So there are people that are looking out for her. I don't know if they've seen each other, because I haven't been given permission to say if they have or they have not. So I just said, if I said, just tell me what I could share, because I don't want to say something that I would later say by accident, you know, that I might have said by accident. It seems like Larry and BJ are living still in the house, and they're struggling from my understanding.
Yep.
Their refrigerator, and I don't know about this because I thought that they got a new refrigerator, but apparently the refrigerator's not working. Nobody's asking for money. I'm not telling you to send money. I'm just giving you guys an update. Also came from my understanding that the three of them that are in the facility are still, you know, they're together. I hadn't heard anything different about that, and they're doing well from my understanding. Now when I say that, I would say, I guess, physically, you know, that's how I took that. And also that, a lot of people seem to think, and again, I'm not asking for money, I just, this was what was said to me because, something came up about, like, because I said, "Well, you know, I'm sure it's hurting BJ and, Larry because, you know, there's 4 people whose checks went out the door with them." And
Yeah.
and I wasn't being facetious, I was
Four,
saying
well,
that I'm sure it's
4
hard.
out of 5. Yeah, 4 out of 5 checks. Yeah, you would think 4 out of
You know what
5.
I'm saying? So and this is how this came up. So it was told to me that Toddie, and this is what was said to me, Toddie, all of the benefits that the Whitakers could have applied for and tried to get, they didn't get everything that the state has to offer them, whether that had been ignorance or laziness. So, you know, us thinking that they were getting every benefit under the sun, that doesn't seem to be the case. And, yeah, so I'm gonna stop there. I think that I feel safe with saying that.
Yeah. So I think, you know, part of the reason they were taken was the conditions of the house. Part of the reason was probably maybe they were being exploited, which when they charged Patrick with exploiting, literally charge him for exploiting these people, that kind of would justify it, you know what I mean? That they were removed for that also reason, because even if they did get care to come in there, that house was a bit of a fire hazard. There was, maybe unclean conditions and stuff. So they, they, and even the people coming in and out, are they in hazardous conditions coming in to help them? So, I mean, I can see the reasons why they're removed and everything, but to
I
keep,
don't think that was it, Kathy. I'm sorry. I just want to tell you, because if that's the case, then everybody would have been gone. They wouldn't just let people that they feel like, well, Larry and BJ, we don't care about them. I think they were taken from the house because of all of the online media
oh,
stuff that
absolutely,
goes into
absolutely.
that. Now, if they use their living conditions as an excuse, those living
Yeah,
conditions
yep,
have been
yep.
that way for forever, right? We saw
Forever.
them at Margarita and nobody came. So yeah, go ahead. I'm
And
sorry.
they even, yeah, even Kenny said that they were raised like that. The house that used to be across the street that they grew up in was just like the Whitakers. Packed with, Kenny said this is how they grew up. That's how we all grew up. He said, but so that's been going on for 100 years. So you're right. I think they used it maybe as a reason. Then this is a reason. You could find all kinds of reasons to take anybody. I just saw a video of somebody going through that area, um, at these houses down the roads and looking at these houses. Most of them are worse than the Whitakers. And so you could go take everybody out of their house if that was the case. But I think, yeah, when they were forced to, with all this, accusations and everything, and then it seemed like we heard a little bit of, maybe some evidence that it could have been because of the accusations against BJ, and is there this or there that. Um, and so I'm thinking that maybe one of the reasons why Betty has distanced herself from, um, BJ and Larry is so maybe she would have a chance to maybe someday see her family again, because I think as long as she's connected there, I mean, if it has to do with BJ or anything like that, um, remember they've not been able. Last we heard, a couple months ago, they were still not able to see the family, and so that is really weird. I mean, you see these cases all the time where, the parents can even hurt the kids or whatever, but eventually they see them again, and I don't know, what I mean, there's a lot of times where, uh, kids are removed or people are removed because conditions or whatever, but then eventually they get to see them, they get supervised visits. I mean, the reason that they've been separated like this and unable to see them is is interesting because that's past a messy house. You know what I mean? There's got to be
Right.
something. If it was just the house, they would be able to come see him, at least supervised. And
Absolutely. They'd be able to at
you
least go to where they are to visit. Absolutely.
know,
I agree. I agree.
and it's funny because when they talk to these people in the Appalachians up there in West Virginia, they, when people interview them, they say, of course they don't like outsiders, and there's a lot of towns across America who we don't like outsiders because they bring trouble. There's crime. That maybe we don't know who they are. So there's a lot of small town areas that, and down there, especially true, if I'm correct, that they stick together because it's like a tribe. It's a matter of survival. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, they're very suspicious about outsiders. So I find it interesting that it took an insider to bring an outsider in. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? So it looks like their instincts are true, because had the outsiders never came, you know, and infiltrated and burrowed their way into this community, they probably would still be sitting there doing the same thing and they've always done.
Right.
I don't think anything would have changed. You know, but yeah, I don't know. So
I agree with what you're saying, that again, that's what totally. That's the only thing that makes sense as far, them being accusing them of physical violence
Right, right.
would be a reason for this. And again, we're gonna have people that are gonna say it happened and nobody was there. Let's be real. The
Nope,
people
nobody saw anything.
so
But,
exactly.
uh-huh.
And so I am always gonna believe what I saw in the video, and what I saw in the video was Eric Carroll create an urgency
Right.
of protection when it came to the family, and I believe for the sole purpose of this division, so that he
Absolutely.
didn't have to build a house and he didn't have to show any work. That's my opinion.
And also his eye was on the prize. He was bound and determined and made no bones about it that he was going to adopt Timmy, or at least bring him to his house. He told us he had adoption papers. They handed them to me like he was getting forced it on him. You know what I mean? So he had a motive. He had a motive to break the family up. You know what I mean? Because hey, when you break them all up, collateral damage. He figured he would walk away with Timmy.
He's
gonna.
I'm sorry, go ahead. I do want to say, and I shared this with you, so I do want to say this, that I heard, and I believe it, I heard that Timmy made approximately, this number is close, I'm sure, but is it precise? No. Unless I have that kind of memory. I want to say, and Kathy, I kind of told you after, but I want to say that I heard from, I think, a reliable source, not the same person, but not Justin. Again, no slight to Justin, that Timmy called 911 about 37 times. Was that the number I gave you? Something like that, right? When I first told you about this? And the times he called 911, it seemed to be was when he was with Eric.
Every time.
That's so, I can understand, Timmy, why didn't he call 911 the whole time when he was living at home? We hadn't heard about
Yeah.
that. Why didn't he call
Right.
911 when he was with Patrick? And I'm not sticking up
Right.
for Patrick. I'm just saying
Right.
why.
And when the Eric even admitted when the police, he said, "Oh, he got scared last night." He said all of a sudden there was pounding on the door and people were shining flashlights in the window real late last night. And he said Timmy was calling 911, and they're pounding on the door. And when he answered the door, the cop said, "Is there anybody else in the house?" And Eric said, "No." And they said, "Well, somebody's calling 911." And he said, "Oh, well, yeah, Timmy's here." Like, I thought was weird. But yeah, so all these calls to 911, and I think Eric tried to make a joke about it, but maybe I think he was trying to call. He wanted to go home, phoning home.
I think so too, because let's just think about that. Why is it only a funny joke? And when did it become a funny joke when
Right.
he was only with Eric? How come? Again, I'm not sticking up for Patrick, but I really heard that those calls, and I would believe that they would be able to show when those calls were, and we already know that Eric said that, but 37 times is what I was told. So
Yeah.
I think he wanted to go home too. That doesn't mean that there was something nefarious, and I'm not trying to imply that there was anything nefarious going on, but it could just be that Timmy didn't want to fucking be there and nobody would take him home. And that's a big deal for anybody that wants to not be somewhere and they're kind of stuck there. I don't care who you are. If you don't want to be somewhere, you should be able to not be somewhere.
Because he probably doesn't have his home phone number memorized. You know what I mean? Who does anymore?
Exactly. And it would,
Right.
and it probably wouldn't have been on and it probably wouldn't have been on his on that cell phone, because that cell phone probably was a toy. You know what I'm saying? More or less a
Right,
toy.
right.
You'd always
Well,
call 911 from a
he
dead cell phone.
he did admit after everybody was taken, he said, "Yeah, I never got the minutes for his phone." Yeah, he never got the minutes for a phone. So what could it do? It could pick up Wi-Fi in the house and it could call 911. But that wasn't the only clue that we had, that he wanted to go home and he was lonely. He said himself, he keeps saying he wants to go home. He wants his mom. He wants to go home. And then he's in the shower crying, "Mama, mama." You know what I mean? And he's trying to tell us, no, he's not saying mama. He's saying my mom, grandma. He calls my mom grandma. Yeah, that's what he's calling from.
Right.
He's calling for my mom, his nana, his new nana. Like, how does that make any sense? No, we had many different admissions on him, but from himself, that Timmy wanted to go home. He's never spent a night away. And somehow he went from never spending a night away to being gone for a week, for a week at a time. And no, that's crazy. I mean, yeah, real quick. I mean, it went fast. You know what I mean? And yeah. So, but yeah, I think he wanted to go home. That was one of many signs that we saw, and red flags that we saw, that he was trying to. I think, hey Justin, how you doing tonight? Hope you're feeling well. Hope you and your family are doing good.
Yeah, Justin, me too, Justin. I hope all is well.
Yeah, so I think that was, but I think Eric was trying to get him used to being with him. It's just my opinion, but I think Eric was trying to compress. Yeah, he's trying to compress a close relationship instead of spreading out for a year or whatever. He's trying to get close with this kid as fast as possible, so he'll be comfortable bringing him back to Georgia. This is his words, not mine. You know what I mean? I mean, he was the one that was saying, he's coming back to Georgia. He's coming back to Georgia, and he's trying to get him used to being away from home, in my opinion, and maybe trying to show him how fun it would be to be with Eric all the time or whatever. I don't know, but right. So that's that. So I think, so anyway, the question is, and if anybody's coming in late, the question we haven't really talked about yet is, will Eric be charged in this fraud case? Now, I did check, so
isn't it fraud and exploitation? It's both, right? Exploiting. It's both.
Yeah.
Those are two separate charges.
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to be sure.
Well,
okay.
We're gonna go over a few of a couple things that Patrick got charged with, which it seems like Eric's just as guilty of. But so I looked, and so as of now that we're into May, okay, this is the month that the indictments are coming out, the felony indictments are coming out of Raleigh in the back of court there, and they have, as we speak, they are rolling out indictments. In fact, hold on a second. Let's see. So I want to get word for word. So let me okay. It says, based on available reports, early May 2026, they are now arresting people for felonies. The following felony arrests and federal convictions have been reported in Beckley and Raleigh County. Now, they said that they're focusing on drug trafficking and fraud, which is interesting, huh?
Well, that would definitely be
what
they're doing, so maybe it will come out in May.
Yep. So they just said that they started releasing names. A few people have been starting to get arrested for this round here in May. So we'll just have to wait and see. Yeah. So that's what and I thought that was interesting because this is a fraud case. So yeah. Hello to people coming in. Let's see, Kathy, Hannah, Truth Seeker on the Path. Up yours, good to see you tonight. B, C, A, B, and C, Lori, and everybody else, good to see you. St. Elmo's Fire. Bunch of people that came in. Good to see you guys tonight. Thanks for coming. So yeah, so
hello in the chat. Go ahead, I'm
yeah,
sorry.
No, go ahead. So let's start at the beginning let's go back to when Eric came in the picture, because this fraud investigation, according to all the reports, what Corporal Gilkison released to the press is that this investigation, they went back and started it on about June 15th or so, the middle of June. And that's exact, whatever day they signed the contract. I think there was a Friday the 13th in June, 14th would have been Saturday. I can't remember what day it was, but it was around the second week in June, whatever. And I found it funny because that's about around the exact time that they signed that contract. Now, you made a video showing that contract, which is kind of hard to read because that Facebook post the guy put up, it really wasn't clear.
It was,
and I never, it was really light, hard to read. But so let's go back to that contract, because that's kind of where the problem started. Because before that, Patrick was doing videos, but he was mostly focusing on Timmy. He did a GoFundMe briefly for, I think it was exactly 1 week, because I did a video on it, for Larry and Betty. And that's when Eric came and told him to shut that off, because that's too transparent or whatever. But so they shut that off. And and he wasn't even monetized. So the problem started, according to the report, when that contract got signed, when Eric came in the picture. Now, do you remember that contract? I just read it once. I think I just watched your video and kind of read with it. And then I looked on I was going to go get a copy of it on Facebook, at that guy's Facebook. And I noticed that you couldn't see it there either. You know what I mean? So I never got a copy of it, but you might remember it better than me. But if I remember right, there was going to be split 3 ways, and I brought this up from the get-go way last fall. That's not fair, but nonetheless, 3 ways. And I think the contract said we'll split whatever's left after money taken out, or something like that. Because I wondered if there was anything specific in there about spending money, about being reimbursed for expenses or anything like that. It was real vague. It was like, well, we'll split, once we pay out our expenses, we'll split what's left, or something like that, but not even that specific. But somehow Eric thought that was, allegedly, apparently, he's, spending like crazy, like a rock star. He's flying his friends in from all over the United States. He's going to places that are totally unnecessary, with a whole bunch of people. Some of them we didn't even meet. We don't even know the guy from North Carolina who was John. Anyway, Matt, Robert Mass, friend. Anyway, all these spending all this money, and if you go back to his channel, there seems to be a pattern of that. Him and his buddies going on, him collecting money, and then him and his buddies going on these trips all over, including in another country. And so questionable things like this has maybe been a pattern of him, treating his friends to all this, all these trips and free stuff. So anyway, that I think should be looked at, the way that he just recklessly spent money, overspent, had friends along. And now Mark is trying to convince everybody, including kind of keeping Eric on the story, that now he's claiming his friend douche, Mark, is claiming that he was the project manager. That's why he was there. Yeah. Remember, but like I said, Eric can't keep his lies straight. He always said that Mark was with him. The reason he's spending all this money for his friends, Mark was his emotional support friend, right? He was the one helping him get through things. Well, now Mark's calling himself. He's promoting himself to project manager. He was going to Yeah,
right.
he was. Yeah, it was a legit. You know what I mean? So you can see that they're not. He knows he's not out of the woods about this, but that over lavish spending and everything that was not necessary. No content even came out of it. How can you even justify it? You know what I mean? Yeah, we didn't see none of that. You know what I mean? None of it was for content, but in that contract also, so there was no limits or nothing to spending, no fine print, nothing about how much anybody could spend on anything, and just all that money, could have made their house better, could have helped with a lot of things, right? And then then all the promises that were never kept. Now I found that interesting, because in these charges that Patrick got charged with, there was specific. I can read the statutes, but in the statutes for these felonies is specifically making promises to these people. When you exploit someone, you make promises that you never intend to keep. I mean, and that is exactly what he did. Made all these promises that he never intended to keep. Promised these donations that they were going to get 100% of. What donations? He never made an avenue for donations to come in. Patrick made one, and they all funneled into his pocket. You know what I mean? But Eric never came through on that either. Nothing about donations. So what do you think about that? Not keeping the promises and the overspending.
Okay, so I think there's two things to that. So I know that personally, I had something happen to me, and I went to a lawyer about it, and the term used was breach of promise. Okay, so there was a breach of promise. There wasn't a written contract, and that contract that was written among them, I really don't know that would be something that can honestly be held up in a court of law. You know what I mean? So that's one thing that I won't comment on because I'm not a lawyer. But there was promises made to them, and that's true, because that we heard with our own ears and eyes. There is no dispute about that. And those promises never came to fruition. And let me just say, and we all can agree on this, there was never any kicking out any members of the family when the promises were originally made. So right away, that promise was changed. So if there was a contract, there was nothing in that contract that said that, as far as I remember, that BJ couldn't be there or Larry couldn't be there. So, I mean, that contract, in my opinion, is probably as good as the piece of paper it's on, which is probably not even the best piece of paper, because there's too many things about that contract that's flawed on the part of the people that wrote the contract.
Which was Eric. And okay, so and that's a good point, because like I said, you probably read the contract better than I did, because I didn't really read it, but I just listened to your video. So on that contract, you didn't say, I know that there was nothing in there like, okay, you get a third, we get a third, you get a third. But Larry and Betty, they never got told that, yours is all going to go into some trust fund, and you're never going to see it, right? You didn't see that, right?
Right, that's correct.
Okay, and he never said you cannot have that money if Betty and if PJ's on the property. That wasn't in there. So Right. So, and then, of course, the person that is your third of your contract, the one signing the contract, why does he have to get off the property and get out of the picture? You know what I mean? He's part of the contract. And also, and when it came to the end, when it's all said and done in September, and it before the family even got taken away, it was Eric on Friday. He was told, you're not getting Timmy back. You're not bringing Timmy back. He was supposed to Saturday, the next day. Betty said no. I've got clips of messages that Eric wrote, posts that he wrote, that he was saying, I'm kind of getting a little worried. I'm hoping Betty doesn't change her mind tomorrow. That's about Timmy coming back to Georgia. Well, Betty did change her mind, and no, Timmy's not going back to Georgia with him. And so that's the day, Friday, that's the day Eric decided to blow up. He's the one that went on. He hadn't even talked to Patrick yet. He didn't talk to anybody. The first anybody heard is when he's on the live stream announcing to the world that this is over. He's done. He's walking out, washing his hands. No cabin in the woods. No Amish this, no Amish that. Everything's done. He's going home, which that was the first Patrick heard of it, because Patrick came into that chat thinking everything with him and Eric were cool. And that's when Eric let him know, no, Patrick, you're out too. And that was news to him. So it was Eric who ended that contract right there that day. He voided the contract, which, whatever the contract was, but he's the one who quit. So for him to try to stop Whittaker's from filming with Brian, whatever his name is,
Brian Cody,
yeah, that's a joke. Because Eric broke the contract. From that moment right there, he should have packed his bags and went home. But he thought he was going to get custody of Timmy, so he waited around. Well, first of all, he had, remember, he said he's making phone calls. He's going to have that. Timmy doesn't need to be there. That nobody needs to be in that house. And sure enough, 3 days later, Monday morning, they all get hauled off, right? Well, he still didn't go home. He waited another week. And so all this time, from the day he quit on that Friday, he waited another 10 days before he didn't go home. You know what I mean? If I quit my job on a Friday, I hand in everything, okay? There's no more spending. They might give me gas money to get home, but you're done, okay? Why would I be out spending on the company credit card for another 10 days?
That would be called a grift.
I mean, right? It's got to be illegal.
That would be definitely a grift.
If I quit my job and I didn't give my card back, and my company finds out that I was spending for another 10 days lavishly on their credit card, they'd want that money back.
Yeah, except that he felt like, I think Eric felt like the only person he had to answer to was nobody. And he certainly didn't have to answer to the support of the people. Like, that's the worst thing, because he had, thousands and thousands of people that supported him, right? And he didn't give any answers to, when he left, he didn't give any answers to, like, he owed nobody an explanation. I just broke up the family, but I don't owe anybody an explanation.
Right.
All I'm going to do is clear my own name and gaslight you all. And, unfortunately, there's people that believe that. And that I don't believe that. How has Eric's life changed at all, except for the better? Remember all the great things he bought when he got back?
Stuff that he
got for his father-in-law and stuff like that. And the Whittakers were split apart.
And didn't get nothing but the water bill paid on some chips and some tobacco. But and remember, before he left, he told us that either right before he left or after he left, he said that which I thought was really weird. He said that the adult protection people told him he better pay the Whitakers before he leaves. Remember that? That he needs to pay them before you leave. Remember,
I
he
don't
admitted
remember
that?
that, but I do remember that he said that he tried to give the money to the police. Like, I'm sorry, but I mean, you got to be a real idiot to think you could go to the police and have them be responsible for your money. Like, who
No,
wants that?
no. They would say that that's a civil case.
Of
And
course, they're
but
not
he,
going to take money like that. But here's the thing:
mm-mm,
like, your average bear would know better, and he knew better. So, like, another thing that you try to tell people that might not know better because they've never been in any
mm-hmm,
kind of experience like that, and it's gaslighting at its finest. It's just
mm-hmm,
manipulation of people because maybe they don't know better, and this is a narrative that you want people to follow. You split up a family, mate. You split up a family and you fucking took their money, pardon my language, and you left. And you left that family broken, and you were looking like you had a holiday and not a care in the world. There
mm-hmm.
wasn't any kind of any sadness or anything. It was, oh well, they basically deserved it. I mean, he decided for them that because they couldn't get rid of family members, they should be split apart. Again, you know, uh, how would anybody like that? You gotta pick a family
Okay,
member, or you know what I mean? Go
and
ahead,
he's
Pat.
got zero qualifications to go into anybody's home and say, you need to pack your bags and get out. You over here, you need to go into treatment. And you need better care. And you get in a truck, you got to go to the doctor. I mean, you got no qualifications for this. He should have right away, when he first visited, he should have said, oh, okay, there's some issues here. Can we get some help? You know what I mean? No, he watched this happen all summer long. And then, yeah, when he found out his grand plan for getting Timmy wasn't going to work, then it's like, he pushed the thing in the TNT and blew it all up, and didn't look back and not bothered about it. And then just the weird, bizarre things like saying when he got home, the police were waiting for him at midnight when he got home. And he was supposed to give that money before he left. I suppose you should have given it to the people that you owed it to. Yeah, I can't just quit my job and take all the money out of the safe and say, I was going to give it to the cops, but then I'm told, you better leave that money here, and I go home. You know what I mean? Well, I don't know. I tried to give it back. It wasn't yours to take. But yeah, he said the cops are waiting for him when he got home. His wife accused him of being. Yeah. Hey, can you imagine if Eric got arrested and extradited up to Beckley and they ended up in the same jail? Because I can't imagine that jail being very big in those towns down there. I don't know where their jail is at. But can you
Well, if
imagine them
they ended
being
up
in the same jail?
yeah, so so jails could be pretty big though, even if the
Yeah.
jails aren't that big. So they
Hmm.
probably wouldn't have them in the same housing unit for sure. You know what I'm saying? So, and if they ended up in prison, excuse me, I don't know if it would be the same prison or, I know I'm jumping the gun there, but they're not going to put them in as cellmates. And chances are they would put them in separate housing units because it would be safer and less work for the deputies or the COs, the correctional officers, because you
All
don't
right.
want to put people in there that are going to start shit. You don't want to do that to your COs. They're already
Well,
understaffed.
yeah.
So, there would be
Yeah.
paperwork. There would be paperwork that comes in, and there's a whole sheet, sometimes more, that will tell them who to keep them separate from, even if it's
Well,
gangs. So that's
yeah.
because they want to one, they have to keep they're supposed to keep them safe. Like, it's really not okay when somebody gets stabbed or hurt inside of a jail
Hmm.
or a prison. It's really not a good look for the jail or prison. And not only that, but then of course, it puts the deputies or COs, whatever's working in the facility, um, it puts them in harm's way. So you don't want to do things that's going to, as you know, like they're not going to put rival gang members in the same housing unit. They just don't want that to happen.
Or two people who were testifying against each other, I imagine either.
Exactly. Or
yeah.
two people that aren't, or that you don't even know are testifying against each other. Because you don't want them getting their story tighter
Right.
in there. So if you're picked up on the same crime, with somebody, and you're not going to testify against them, you're not going to put them together either. You are going to separate, them.
Well, yeah, I mean, even if he initially gets arrested, and extradited to West Virginia, if he's got to come up with the kind of bail that Patrick did, hope he put a little savings away, because that's a lot of money to come up, or somebody's got to sign their house, for collateral or whatever. But so Patrick won't be there if Eric gets arrested. Patrick's not he's already out until trial. You know what I mean?
Right.
If he doesn't violate his release conditions, he's out until the trial. So if Eric gets arrested, he's going to have to come up with bail. He's going to have to come up with a lawyer, and
let me just tell you this from my understanding, and I could be wrong. We'll have to ask the chat, but I do believe that, because I don't think that Eric, because of Patrick's, well, he's on a ankle monitor. Is it just for this case? Or is it because he was on he broke his parole or his probation? Because
I think it was more the probation violation. Is why he's got the
Okay, because if they're going to put an ankle monitor on Eric, they're not going to put it on him. From what I believe and what I understand, they're not going to put it on him in a different state, because it has to be supervised. I'm pretty sure it's got to be in the state that the person's in. And if he lives in a different state, which we know he lives in a different state than West Virginia, it would be something that that state would take on as far as the monitoring. So they're not going to do that, in my opinion. They're not going to borrow that onto somebody else. So I think he might either he would be on a larger probate, a larger bond, I think, or he might have to stay. You know what I'm saying? But I don't think they're going to put an ankle monitor on him and let him go to a different state, because they have to supervise or be in charge of the movement of the ankle monitor, and it wouldn't be the state of West Virginia. So I don't think they can do it in a different state.
He's not going to get an ankle monitor. The only reason that Patrick has one is because he violated a previous probation. Okay. He didn't get that when he got bailed out. No, you're listen. If you don't come back or disappear, they got your house. So no, and I don't know how it works in another state, but I did look up when I was looking up that ankle monitor thing. So say if he got in trouble in a different county, he still gets to be at his house, but he has to pay whatever local sheriff is around him. That's the one who he's got to pay. So if he's 100 miles away, lives a different part of the state, he would have to pay his local sheriff for the ankle monitoring service.
But it's totally different when it's a different state. That's a whole other jurisdiction, and you can't put that onto another state.
Yeah, but he ain't gonna get that, because and that was just because he violated. But so anyway, right now they are releasing for May. They are releasing some of the names of people being indicted for the May indictments. They have already started. We haven't gotten any word about Eric yet, and you will never hear about it until they release it. They don't tell you ahead of time. Somebody asked
and they're not going to say, and we're not getting him. I mean, they're not going to talk about the people that they don't. They don't pick up.
No, they're not going to announce that Eric's not going to get it this time or whatever. Somebody said the three they took away in the same home. That's coming from St. Elmo's Inspire wants to know if the three are in the same home together. Are they? I think they are, aren't they? The
Last
three
I heard, so last I heard they were in the same facility,
facility. Mm-hmm.
but I don't know if that's changed, and I'm, I would hope that I would hear something. I thought I would hear something yesterday or today, but hopefully I'll hear something by Monday, and I can verify that.
Yeah. And I think did we not get confirmation that there's nobody else in the picture? Elizabeth's not in the picture. There's
Elizabeth is not in the picture. She has been out of the situation completely, and I don't mean anything negative or anything.
Right.
She is just out of the situation. Yes, she's out of
Been
the
for
situation.
been
And
for a
as
while.
far as I know, there is nobody in West Virginia. There's a few neighbors that might help Betty and BJ and Larry. But yeah, I'm not sure about that. Kenny's not much of a help at all from my understanding.
Yeah, I saw some interesting stuff about Kenny in the court files, even some recent stuff, but I won't bring it up now. But yeah. Yep, I don't think Kenny's gonna help anybody.
Yeah, he's not.
Yeah.
You remember when we were talking about how come Kenny won't help? How come Kenny doesn't step up and at least try to help?
You know what? I made a whole video. Why doesn't Kenny step up? I made a whole video and never released it. I should release it. I probably don't even feel the same, but I should release it. But because I spent a lot of time, I spent a couple days on that video. I didn't release it, but I know now. Now I do know why he doesn't step up. Because when I made the video, I really didn't know all the legal stuff that I know now, and just other things that I've heard from the inside about what's going on over there.
Yeah,
him in his shed and everything.
I will tell you this, without getting into great detail, that I know that I've shared with you, Kathy, but with the chat, I guess I expected more from. I took Kenny, I guess, at his word, even though I know what Mark Lada said or one of the cousins said, and he said, that basically Kenny was just as bad. Well, apparently so. I'm not talking about any kind of drugs. No. I'm just talking about monies, and yeah, so I'm just talking about money. So, it makes me wonder, seriously. And again, this isn't a reason to take away a family. Still really none of our business. It only became our business because of what happened and such. But I maybe, and I hate to say this, but with the situation, the way it ended, I'm kind of, if Betty can't be taking care of the 3 people that needed her, then I think Betty needed to be taking care of herself. So, if she can't get her family back, to me, as somebody that cares about the family, I'm fine with where she's at. I think it's better for her. But again, I could be wrong. I'm but I didn't put her there, but I could sleep knowing that, yeah, she really is, in my opinion, being taken care of with just looking out for her as being the number one concern. No money, no trying to be famous, just looking out for Betty as a number one concern. And that's what these people apparently are doing.
Yeah, I didn't say that Elizabeth was claiming that she was having anything to do with it, but in case anybody was wondering, there's nobody.
Yep.
Yeah, somebody in the chat said Elizabeth said she stepped away. I didn't know that. I don't watch Elizabeth, so I don't know what she was saying. But no, I didn't mean that she was claiming it. I'm just saying, if if anybody's wondering, there's nobody that's going over there. I mean, there's nobody that's going to the Whitakers. The only ones left is Larry and BJ,
BJ,
and
right.
nobody is going over there.
Well, that's not true. So there are some neighbors that have helped them with some stuff, from my understanding. Not a lot of stuff, but probably brought them some fire. Just the bare minimum. But just because
Yeah.
some people have compassion and still obviously see BJ and Larry as human beings, and that's up to them. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's totally up to
Yeah.
them. And being the
Well,
fact that they live in that area, they would know better than us how people behaved over there and such. Because I don't live there. I
yeah.
never lived there.
Yeah, I think that there are locals in the area that care about the Whitakers. In fact,
yeah.
I think I heard, I think it was on Creepalachia. He was talking to that girl that does the artwork and stuff, and I think she's the one that said she grew up right there. She's even went to a birthday party where Timmy was at, and so she's met the family here and there around town. But she grew up over there, and she said there's a lot of people who probably never hear from that care about the Whitakers. They tried to keep people away from them. The ones that did a little bit of harassing and stuff like that. I think after the in 2004 when Mark did that inbred, put that book out there. I think it was a book. Yeah, he put a book out or something. They got a little bit of popularity, but even growing up, she said even before Mark came, they were getting harassed on occasion. I mean, because they raise out there. They say barking, but it's more of a grunt. Oh my gosh, I have a video coming out, you guys. I have a video. I forgot to even tell you. Anyway, it's gonna be. This just reminded me because anyway. I got a video coming out. Somebody's claiming that they got some inside information about all the three of them. No, they claim they got inside information about everybody, but all of them. But I don't believe it. But I'm gonna review this person's. But they claim that Ray only did that when there was trouble or something like that. But that's the way he communicates, and it's more, the doctors would call it like grunting or whatever, and it's his communication. But people that and Timmy, they used to pick on Timmy, they used to pick on Ray, and probably his brother Freddie. There was a few of them that probably their whole lives that kind of got harassed here and there. I mean, but anyway, there's been people that have always tried to help out the Whitakers, and they were also involved in the church right down the road for decades. You know what I mean? So they had church members that cared about. People care about Whitakers around there. You just don't see them or hear from them because, again, they stick to their own, which is smart. I mean, you should always put your family first and your neighbors first and your neighborhood first before outsiders. I think you should, because look what happens. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Well, look at what happened.
Yeah, look at what happened in this case. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so I think that they do have some, but yeah, I'm gonna have a video. I'm gonna go over somebody's video where they claim that they know what happened to everybody. Okay, that's anyway. So that's kind of funny. I forgot about that. I really haven't done any work on videos too much this week. The weather's been nice, and I've been out playing every day, going places and doing stuff. So Wednesday, me and my friend went to play bingo. I told you I saw a man win $10,000. The old guy won 10 grand. He won one game, and he won another game. It was like 50, and then 100. Then he hit 9,000.
Told me that. I thought he only won that on one game.
No, he was. Yeah, this old guy. He was sitting by himself. He wanted a 25 or 50. Then he won another one, it was like 100. Then he won 9,900 on a pick set. If you call bingo within under a certain amount, he won it 10 grand. And when they finally came and did the paperwork, he tipped the staff $1,000. $1,000 for the, I think 3 of them were working in there. Yeah. He tipped him $1,000, you guys, the 3 people. So the each probably got $300 or whatever. Each of the staff members went home with probably $300. I don't know if there was 3 or 4 of them. There's the bingo caller, the 2 ladies on the floor, and the cashier, I suppose. So yeah, that was cool. He tipped him $1,000. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, that was nice. Anyway, that was fun.
That was very generous. Very generous.
Yeah. And everybody applauded him, gave him a round of applause when he won. And then when they verified it, they all gave him applause again. It was exciting, man. Yeah. Anyway, so I didn't mean to get off track, but that, yeah, I've been out having fun doing stuff. But anyway, so but I do have that video. Maybe I'll put it out tonight or tomorrow. But it's kind of interesting. Somebody thinks that they know what happened to everybody. Supposedly they got some sources or something, but anyway. So back to Eric. He was never qualified to go in and do any of the things that he did to this family. You know what I'm saying? He's not a social worker. He's not licensed. He's not trained. And well, his own family, you know, he's not got a good track record with, you know, his own. You know, I mean, anyway, how he went in there and tried to tell everybody, even told who couldn't drive the vehicles. I mean, if somebody came on my property or my parents' property and anyway. But
and then the reason in question, do you remember how aggressive he was when he was asking about who was in the camper? Who's in the camper? No, I saw. Like, and you saw Betty. I mean, like, here's Betty on her own porch, not knowing what to say, not knowing what to do, because, you know, again, how many times has she had experience with, you know, a conflict with a stranger that's arguing with her?
Never, probably.
With her, you know, like, he really was very aggressive with that.
And not only that, but remember, not only is he being more and more aggressive, he's getting his boundaries. There are no more boundaries, okay? Went from Timmy's got to be home by dark to I'll take Timmy as long as I want. You know what I mean? The boundaries they're gone. There's no boundaries. Eric runs the roost. Even Larry is speechless on his own porch that he's been, you know, the property his parents owned since he was born. And here's the stranger, but you remember, not only is Eric younger and stronger than all of them, he's intimidating them, but remember, he's also in authority. He's the one that's got a hold of the money. He's the one that can pay you or not pay you. And he even said, I can call the police and have your family taken away, or however he put it. I have the clips. I have them where he's telling Betty.
I totally believe you.
Yeah. So he's wielding this authority over the family, and he's got them, pardon my expression, by the balls, because he's got their money. He's going to turn everybody in. He's telling everybody he's got friends in the courthouse. I don't know about you, but I don't have friends in courthouse in Raleigh County. You know, do you? I mean, who's got friends in another state, in another courthouse in a different state? Anyway, they're in a position, and not only that, but they're vulnerable. There's a reason that they make this law about vulnerable people, because it's no different than doing it to a child or a handicapped person. I mean, you can bully around Betty, Ray, and Lorraine too. You can, just like that's why he got charged with 5 counts. That's why Patrick got charged for each and every one of them. 3 of them were disabled. It was real easy to bully them. Force them and control them and intimidate them. And then Betty and Larry were both over 62. I think that's the federal age, 62. And so now they're vulnerable adults. So yeah, that's why the charges went from misdemeanors to felonies with Patrick, because it was over 1,000, and it was they were all vulnerable. You know what I mean? And
Right.
so, but I could go over. I'm going to read a few things, and I'm gonna show you that Patrick's charges. In fact, I'm going to just read you. First of all, I'm going to read this article real quick that came out. Yes, and the blackmail. I mean, it's not like it's something I heard, or it's something that I'm speculating. No, we all saw it and heard it with our own eyes. He recorded it worldwide, of himself and Patrick actually bragging that they were blackmailing Larry. Like, well, we told him if he doesn't.
And we
Nah?
heard that, and you know, I mean, not only did we hear that, we
I made 2
heard,
videos about it.
but we also heard Betty say that in her own voice. I mean, we
Mhm,
heard her
mhm.
say that,
Yep.
and you know, if you listen to her voice, like nobody deserved that. Who deserves that?
Oh my gosh. I mean, and listen, this is why I believe that he will get. I personally believe, my own opinion, that he's going to get charged, because Patrick and Eric could have never ever gotten away with this stuff with any other person that's not vulnerable. You could not go up to the average Joe and get away with this. You could not go up to a strong family, with the husband and the wife, and everybody's young and got their shit together. You couldn't go to a professional couple, to a doctor and his wife. You couldn't. There's
Not only
so.
that's not. I hear what you're saying. Again, I think what you're trying to say is like what I said earlier, that what experience do these people have? They're not worldly at all.
No,
What experience do they have to even
no,
contemplate such a thing? It's just
no.
total taking advantage of, and it's almost like dealing with children, like you said, or a person with dementia. They are at a loss,
Mm-mm.
and they're at a
Right,
deficit. So you're taking advantage of somebody, that does not have the same amount of tools. It's not fair. Like
right,
they might have one arrow in their basket when you have 12. How fair is
right,
that? And they might be blind out of one eye. So now how fair
right.
is it? You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's why they did make those laws. It's because, yeah, it's a lot easier for people to take advantage of somebody when they're vulnerable. Like I said, they ain't gonna get away with it for most people. There ain't nobody in his neighborhood he could have done this to. He had to drive to another state.
that's right.
And I think the first visit. I'm sorry.
No.
I think.
Go ahead. I think we're gonna say the same thing. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think the first visit he spent with the Whitakers, that first weekend, in the last weekend of June, I think that first weekend he went home knowing, oh, this is going to be easy. This is going to be easy.
I think he went there. I think he went to West Virginia, thinking that they were dumb country bumpkins.
Yeah.
He was a city boy, and that they were nothing to him. And that's the way he treated them, just in everything you said, in taking somebody's kid who you saw, like, you even made a video, I'm pretty sure, of how you saw Lorraine in her own way. I mean, that's the best way that woman knows how to communicate. And you saw her basically saying she didn't want Timmy to go, and that was ignored. That was ignored by everyone.
Yep. And when she said you've got to bring him home, that was ignored.
Yeah.
But it says, so in the article, when the day that Patrick got arrested, I'm going to read a few things that he got charged with, which I think Eric is just as guilty of. But in the article put out in West Virginia, one of their news, let me see what it is. It's called West Virginia, WVNS Bluefield, I think it's one of their news reports. They put out a report, and this was in many of them because this was a statement released from the Beckley State Police. They were saying that one of the things that Patrick is being charged with, specifically, it says West Virginia State Police released a statement saying that Rourke, quote, utilized their disabilities and shortcomings in life to produce social media for content for monetary gain. All right. How is Eric not guilty of doing that too? Eric utilized their disabilities and shortcomings in life to produce social media content for monetary gain too. In fact, he laser beamed focused in on their disabilities and shortcomings. Do you remember that video? You guys listening in the chat, you remember that video when I think they're going to go to Arby's or get somebody a haircut or something, but Ray was in the back of the truck. I don't know where they were going, but Eric was in the driver's seat of the pickup, and it was actually Patrick was in the passenger seat. He was letting Eric drive his truck. So you got, no, I'm sorry, it was his brother. Remember the second trip he came down, Eric came down with his brother, Sean. And so Eric was driving. Sean was in the passenger seat.
Excuse me, let's remember Sean got paid too, remember?
Oh, yeah, Sean got paid too. Everybody got paid. And he was supposed to hold the camera.
There's nothing in the contract about that.
Yeah. There's nothing in the contract about hiring all these extra people to hold the camera, right? To hold your phone. But Sean, Eric's brother, was videotaping the people in the back seat on the way to wherever they were going. And Sean was focusing probably for most of the ride, probably 5 or 10 minutes. He was focusing on Ray, who was picking his nose, you know what I mean? And whatever, just something that nobody in their right mind would agree to have them be photographed, right? But he's not only was he was doing that, but he told Sean, he said something like he's picking his nose, and Eric said, no, keep videoing or something like that. So for like half the trip, it was watching him pick his nose. And I mean, that was probably the most degrading. And not only that, but him and his,
that was to make us look like they were, that they needed help. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that
yeah.
Mean somebody needs help. That just means that they were brought up differently, and that's not a reason for anybody to believe that a family should be taken apart.
Yeah, just like videotape them in their worst of the worst. And then, by the way, the
worst light possible.
Yeah, in the worst light possible. Yeah, and then we're supposed to say, oh wow, look at. Timmy's in a costume now. He's in a cowboy costume. Oh, look. Oh, you guys are miracle workers. Timmy never looked like that before. Are you kidding? You can look at all the videos from Soft White Underbelly. He's never looked that horrible. You know what I mean? Sometimes his hair is a little long. It's about it. He's never all soiled. Ray is soiled a lot, and that's because he chews chew, and he never spits it in a bottle. He just dribbles it all over himself. Most of that black on him is chew from chewing, you know what I mean? But yeah, let me check some of the comments. Except the Whittaker, yeah. But how is Eric not guilty of doing this? And, I was going to say, somebody said, why doesn't Ray wear diapers? Depends. He does. They tried, okay? They tried, and when Eric put a diaper on him, and they went out for the day, and when they came back, he was videotaping, and Ray went in, they got home, they were all walking into the porch. Ray goes straight in. He walks about 2 steps in the house, drops his bib overalls, kicks that diaper off, and 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 puts his pants back on. Puts his old pants back on. So yeah, he didn't. They tried the diaper, and Ray kept pulling it off. So that's that. Okay, so yeah, if you wonder why he doesn't, I don't know what he's doing now. You know what I mean? If you don't think people pee their pants in a nursing home, or listen, if you go to a nursing home or if you work there, you'll notice that a lot of them have diaper rash. Yeah. I don't think Ray ever had diaper rash, but hey.
Not just diaper rash, but UTIs because of that. And
Oh, yeah. UTIs, diaper rash, and staph infection. And you can get these horrible rashes, and they come quick. And Ray never had that. So really, how bad could it have been? Anyway, that's that. But yeah, he'd exploited their disabilities.
There's people gonna say right now, how do you know that he didn't have it? Because when you're itchy, you scratch it. And we never saw that. We saw Ray holding up his pants with one hand, not scratching with the other.
Okay, and if you have a UTI, if you don't get that treated, you're going to end up dead eventually, right? You could die from those. And Ray hasn't been a doctor in many, many years, so obviously he hasn't had too many UTIs, or you know what I mean. It just and I'm going to tell you what. How many times did Eric brag about bringing Ray into the shower? If there had been one patch of diaper rash, it would have been off to the emergency room, and we would have heard about it to this day. No. Eric would have ran with that like wildfire if he had any diaper rash. Oh, look, I mean, we heard about the toenails. We heard about the, we heard about everything.
And Kathy just said, how do you videotape a grown man picking his nose that might not know better because he wasn't taught any better? It's still somebody's dignity that they had no respect for. So that goes hand in hand with, if there would have been an issue, he would have said something. You know what I'm saying? They weren't trying to protect anybody's dignity. Eric was
not at all. Not at all. Listen, would you do that to your child? Would you have your child on there, for the whole trip to the store, picking her nose and eating it? You know what I mean? Would you do that? Hell no. Wouldn't do that to somebody that you loved. What if that was your grandpa or your grandma or your mom or dad? Out for the day from the nursing home, you get to take them out for a ride. Would you sit there? Oh, look at everybody! Look at her pick her nose the whole way. I mean, yeah. When you walk,
if my dog made a mess in the house, I'm not trying to embarrass my dog, let alone a person.
Right. Yeah. So you just that's humiliating. Yeah, I mean, and it was for content, and yeah, he had him focus on that like the whole trip. Anyways, and so yeah, Eric would have told us all about the diaper rash. He had them all in the shower for some reason twice a day. That's weird. I won't even get into that, but
I was actually gonna say, yeah, that's kind of weird. People you don't know, you just get into a shower with. That's how uncomfortable do you think that is?
Right.
Person that can't say, that doesn't have the can't articulate what the fuck are you doing in here? Pardon my language, but seriously,
right.
Somebody came into a shower with me. Just because I couldn't articulate what are you doing in here, it doesn't mean inside I'm not feeling humiliated, like you said, and like disrespected, and just, I mean, come on, those are still your private bits. You still know to put on clothes because it shouldn't be, you know what I mean? Like, I think, in my opinion, that Eric didn't pay attention to many, many, many of the boundaries that would be. And I'm not saying anything happened nefarious in the shower and stuff like that. I'm just talking about how somebody might feel with somebody doing that. Because here's the thing, but so there was a video, and I want to say it came from Mark Leda, unfortunately, but where they went into Walmart and a few of them had to go to the bathroom and they went into the men's room and a camera
I remember that.
you
Yep.
remember? And
Oh,
Ray,
yeah.
and you remember Ray's face? Ray looked like,
Yeah.
what are you doing here? I mean, he couldn't
Yeah.
articulate it, but you saw on his face, like, seriously, you could see his
Yeah.
expression on his face. It was wrong, you know?
I think it was at the carnival. But yeah, they went into he was following Ray around. He followed him right into the men's room, right up, and there was a guy at the urinal. And the guy at the urinal was probably just zipping up or something. And then Ray comes right next to him. And then, yeah, he had the camera going still. And then Ray was like going to unzip and he looked like, excuse me?
Exactly.
Yeah, I remember that.
Articulate it doesn't mean he can't be embarrassed by it. Like, that's totally crossing boundaries.
But he had okay, and not just Ray, but Timmy too. He had Timmy in the shower twice a day, but he also exploited Timmy's shortcomings and disabilities too. I mean, he also exploited his shortcomings and disabilities. He followed him into the bathroom, outside the bathroom. He was exploiting when he's
it's easy. We could end this whole, and we're not going to, but it's as simple as this. The reason why the Whitakers were content was because people exploited their differences. That's it. Because if they were your average family, nobody would even be talking about them. So they were exploited because they were, unfortunately an insensual, how do you say it? And they were
incestual.
Yeah. And they obviously they communicated different, they looked different, and they were exploited because of that alone. Otherwise we wouldn't even have an interest in the Whitakers. It's not like they're great singers or great artists. The thing that made them who they were to us was the fact that they were so different. Now, some of us looked at it and said, wow, what an unlucky draw to be, and how sad, and we found it fascinating in a way of not entertainment per se, but of trying to understand, you know what I mean? That's where I came from. I came from that. And, I felt bad because you're born into that. You don't have a choice. And then you hear about people throwing rocks and making fun. And, you start thinking, damn, how sad is that? So, but that's not the way that Eric went into it. Eric didn't go into it like that. Eric went into it to exploit the differences. And I guess Mark Leda too, unfortunately. Now
and Patrick, all of them,
and Patrick as well. Patrick as well.
Yeah, we're not watching the following around the cashier at the store who's got her shit together, or the mechanic who we're following around people. They're following around the people we're watching. But now, what do you think about so the whole reason to watch? And what's funny is that over hundreds of years they always had the freak shows, right? And I remember when I was a kid back in the 70s, we went to the state fair and they always had the freak show. You go in up the stairs on one side and you see a bunch of stuff. You go out the stairs, and I remember the two-headed calf. I ended up working with a guy who owns that two-headed calf now. It was really stuffed and mounted after died. He's got it in his shop that he owns.
The bearded lady.
Yeah, the bearded lady, the fat person, rubber man, yeah. But it's like the human rights or somehow they ended up shutting that down because it seemed like it was exploiting.
Yes.
It seemed to have been exploiting these people. Now I've even saw interviews of these people that worked in the circus in these freak shows, and they actually, a lot of them liked it because number one, they made good money, and number two, they really didn't fit in the outside world anyway. They were with other people who didn't fit in, so it wasn't, so you could see both sides of it. But I'm loud. I'm super loud, and you can barely hear Toddie. All right, Toddie, can you turn your mic up? I can't turn my voice down.
Well, I can talk louder.
Yeah.
Is that better?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that better? I don't know, because I can't. You're supposed to be the one that has control over my mic because it's your show.
I
So
am.
if you went yeah. I think if you went into settings, you might be able to see where my mic is.
Well, if I go into settings,
Okay, wait, I got something here. Let me try. Is this better? Is this better?
Yeah, I hear you're getting loud. Yeah. Okay, that's better.
That better?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't want to be too loud.
But so they kind of shut those freak shows, as they call them, down. But in a way, they've started back up again with like YouTube and social media, right? They're really kind of the same. It's the same game, you know what I mean? It's the same business. People go around finding people who are just bizarre or way different from everybody. And I mean, again, the girls on the two-headed, not two-headed, but the conjoined twins, guess what? So there's I forgot their names, but so there's a few of them. One of the the two women died. They passed away. One died, and the other one died right after they shared organs. But you know what's really weird? To talk about coincidence. So I always saw those two girls, Abby and Amber and Ashley, and I never knew they were from Minnesota. And one day, my son, who also has seen them on TV, on cable and stuff, my son used to live with me, and he said, "Buddy, I was at work today. They did concrete work. They were doing the entryway in Trader Joe's, in Roseville." And he said that the Abby and Amber and Ashley, the conjoined twin girls, came up and they were trying to get in the door, and he had to show them the other way to get in. And he said, "Did you know they lived here?" I said, "No, I didn't. I didn't know they." So anyway, my son actually saw those, Amber and Ashley. I didn't even know it. They were from Minnesota. But anyway, nonetheless, they've been on show after show. They're on, I think, Jerry Springer and all kinds of stuff. Again, I mean, how is that not exploiting? You know what I mean? And it's
simply exploiting. As soon as you start realizing what it is about the family that people were attracted to, and that was their uniqueness, which came from a weakness, unfortunately. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I remember Ronnie and Donnie. Yep. Yeah, a lot of them been on there. But I mean, now so you got it. But this goes, I think, beyond that. I think it goes beyond that, because not just, okay, it's not like doing an interview with Abby and Amber or whatever. This was a contract involved. They were, making promises they weren't keeping. In fact, I'm going to read that real quick. These statutes, and this is why Patrick is getting charged, because one of the things is making promises that they never kept. I literally made a video on a bunch of the promises, over and over, promise after promise after promise after promise, everything from the Amish house to you name it. That promises that were made over and over that I don't think he ever intended to keep, but nonetheless, they were not kept, and that's part of the charges that in this fraudulent scheme thing. Here, I'm going to read it real quick. And this is one of the things. Patrick is facing 5 counts of fraudulent schemes. And so tell me how Patrick did this, but Eric didn't, right? Okay. So this is what Patrick is being charged with. So he's got 11 felonies, 5, 5, and 1. And people will think, well, Patrick is the one who kept all their gifts and presents that came in the mail. That's just a small part of what happened here. And You know, and you could. It's fair to say that so did Eric. You know, I personally made a video where somebody gave $300 specifically, wanting it to go to Timmy, and Eric spent 5 minutes explaining how difficult that's going to be to get him the $300. I mean, um, but so the keeping the gifts and all that stuff. That was only a small part of it. So, but tell me if Eric didn't do these same things. Patrick was charged with 5 counts of fraudulent schemes, code 61-3-24D, and paragraph A. And as a crime where a person willfully deprives another of money, goods, or services through fraudulent pretenses, representations, or promises. Tell me how Eric didn't do that. Eric promised money, goods, and services, did he not? Through fraudulent representations or promises. So yes, the answer I would say yes. I definitely. It says it deems this action larceny, allowing the accumulation of smaller losses from a common scheme. Okay, 20 here, 20 here, 100 here. You know what I mean? All these smaller losses that add up to a common scheme to establish a higher value theft. So it doesn't have to be one thing over $1,000. And he's getting charged with the felony because these are all over $1,000. 5 counts, one for each of the Whittakers. And it says, all right, so yeah, did it? I would say yes. I would say yes. Eric willfully deprived them of money. And I find it interesting that the first biggest payday that we saw text with our own eyes, Patrick and Eric were texting to each other saying, our August money is already at $20,000. Okay, that was going to be for next month. Who knows what it got up to by the time they got it. So August 21st, they were going to receive well excess of $20,000 through just YouTube AdSense. And they had many other platforms. So who knows what they were going to get. Some were saying it's $70,000. Nonetheless, when that August 21st came up, for days before that, well, let's just say 10 days before that, Eric Patrick, Eric, whoever, BJ gets turned in for the copper. She gets back out for an entire week before that first giant payday hit. Eric admits he's on the phone fighting with BJ about money. And when the 21st came, and they didn't get nothing but their water bill paid, and $250 on a gift card. So they got less than $1,000 out of whatever that first one was, 50 grand, whatever it was. So yeah, they willfully withheld, and Patrick, made a little ongoing scheme of or theme, I should say, going on Facebook, even after the family's destroyed and everybody's taken away. He's like, nope, still not going to pay them. I'm still going to withhold the money. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, Patrick withheld the money, but so did Eric. So did he withhold the money? I say, yeah. He willfully deprived them of money. How about the goods or services? Yeah, I believe so.
There's no house, right? There's no house built.
No house.
There were chips. I mean, Lorraine basically had to perform for chips. She had to make a big deal about a bag of chips. So she had to work for those, right? It's not even that they got that for free, Remember, it couldn't have been that he just said, "Here, Lorraine." It was like, "Here, Lorraine, they're the best chips. Like, I know you like them, right? You want them, right? Don't you remember that? It wasn't as easy as just giving somebody a bag of chips."
No, yeah, he made a big production of handing the chips, and she
Right.
would just grab him and put him with the whole pile of rest of chips behind the pillow. You know what I mean? It's just like, come on, you know. And it's funny because the video before they showed up, the last video I think with Mark Leda, Lorraine was sitting on more than one video, but for sure, like one of the last ones he did, Lorraine was sitting there with a big bag of Lay's potato chips. So that's where he knew she liked the potato chips, so she was going to be a a fiend with them or something. I think he's trying to offer with those chips because that's like,
yeah, he was making like a big deal about these special Amish chips. And listen, I bet you those Amish chips taste better than Lay's. I bet you they do. But it wasn't like, listen, you go to somebody's house and you want to give them a bag of chips. Do you really make a huge deal? You could say to them, "Hey,
no.
I think you'll like these because they're Amish." But you don't sit there and make a huge deal like you've given them, a Fendi bag. You know what I'm saying? Like, or something. I hope I said that right because I'm not into brands and stuff like that. But, it was a bag of chips. And again, I mean, that's exploiting somebody because he looks stupid. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just became a show. Everything was a show. Everything was a show. He couldn't do anything privately because of the kindness of his heart. Everything had to be on show.
Yeah, yeah, I think it is kind of weird that he kept showing that, but he like I said, he said he had a whole bunch in the back of his vehicle, and every time he comes, he's going to give her a bag. And you could tell at the end, though, and just because she can't communicate, just because she can't talk, Ray can't talk, and Timmy can't talk clearly, doesn't mean they're not sitting there listening to the family having about enough of Eric's shit. You know what I mean? And so you could tell she's been listening to this too. So when every time Eric came, she's been listening in, so she wasn't stupid. And I saw her pushing him away at the end with the last bag of chips. But yeah, to make a big deal out of these tiny little gifts that are about $1.80 at Walmart, you know what I mean? Yeah, I'm not even sure she got name brand each time, but yeah, it was yeah, kind of like a circus pony, you know what I mean? I don't know. But by the way, though, I'll tell you why she got the special Amish chips that day. You know why she got the expensive Amish ones? Well, not just that he just spent their money treating all his friends to a trip to Paris. Yeah, he just spent a bunch of their money. But the least he could do is bring her back a bag of chips. But you know what? It was a special occasion that day. You know why? Because an hour later, he called everything off and quit because he couldn't bring Timmy home. So I guess that was her consolation bag of Amish chips for, destroying the entire family and trying to take her child away. So yeah, she got an extra.
It just absolutely, like, that's just taking advantage of what you think. Here's the thing: nobody said Lorraine was stupid. Nobody said
right.
What we see about Lorraine is that she can't articulate very well to people that she doesn't know. Betty understood her. Her son understood her. The people in her family understood her, right? They did, because Lorraine spoke, she knew a little bit of sign language or something, right? Didn't Mark later say that? She knew a little bit of sign language. So that doesn't mean that somebody's slow in the brain. And he really insulted her by not recognizing her, one, as Timmy's mom, and two, as a grown woman who is who she was and is.
Talking to her like she's 2 years old. And look at the difference when Mark Laeta was walking up there. Hi, Mark, and she's so happy, and she's scuttling in to open the door to let Mark in. And what a difference, what I mean. And when he came, he's like, "I'm here, I'm barging in," and yeah, it's a total day and night difference between the two of them. She knew, each time he came over, she knew it was, probably worse and worse. So another 6 counts that Patrick has that I don't see how Eric is not responsible for the same thing is financial exploitation of elderly, protected, or incapacitated person involving over $1,000, which is felonies. It is code number 61229B, paragraph B, and this is what Patrick got 6 counts of this. The intentional misuse or misappropriation of funds or assets belonging to an elderly 65 plus or incapacitated person. That's all 5 of them. All right, so this is what they're saying that Patrick did. Do you think Eric did this? Intentional misuse or misappropriation of funds. Yeah, I think so. I think he took part of their funds and misused it. Treating all his friends and doing all this stuff, literally spending thousands and thousands of dollars and not even making nothing for content for his own personal stuff. Staying 10 days later. Yeah, I think he did intentionally misuse and misappropriate their funds. Let's see. Yeah, I think he did. This crime often involves family members, caretakers, or trusted acquaintances abusing their position. Yeah, I think that's exactly what did I say. He's got an authority position. He had authority in that relationship between all of them. I mean, even Patrick was subservient. You know what I mean? Even Patrick submitted to Eric. I mean, Eric was definitely the dominant and all that. You know what I mean?
I totally agree. I totally agree because, again, I think that Eric went there with the intention of thinking that everybody, including Patrick, was just an idiot. And that's just, I mean, yeah, and then Patrick, we have to remember Patrick broke his leg and he was, he claims, and I think we saw that in all fairness to him. And no, I've not unblocked Patrick, so I've not changed my mind. That's me saying what we saw. So he was separated. He was separated from, what was going on. He was left out of things simply because he was either in the hospital or stuck in a room trying to go ahead and, he was trying to get better with his leg. So I think he was honestly cut out of a few things. And I don't think with Eric's personality, from what we see, he doesn't feel like he owes anybody an explanation. So I can't see him coming at the end of the day and going through everything with Patrick, like, this is what we did and this is how we're going to handle it tomorrow. I just don't see that. So I have to give Patrick grace when it comes to that and say that Eric, in my opinion, was the more dominant one. And I don't mean any offense to Patrick. I just meant he was the more dominant one in this situation. And again, you're right. If Patrick is charged with those things, why isn't Eric? Because we saw this. We saw him be the dominant one. We saw him take control. We saw him ask for money to get to places and then turn around and say that he was going to take it from the Whitakers because he laid out all this money. Remember, he was getting donations to ask for this and this, and then turned around and said that after he laid out the money, remember the pizza thing? He laid out the money for that pizza only to find out that pizza was donated. So, I mean, how do you trust somebody who was doing that?
Yeah, um, and I blew up his fake expense sheet. What all had is just like a bunch of chicken scratch numbers. Not one thing was labeled. Now, come on, even the amateurs bookkeepers will say pizza, $18. Gas this much, that. But he had a bunch of numbers. Looks like he hurried up and wrote 2 or 3 columns of numbers with nothing next to him. And then he had some scrunched up receipts. Remember, he kept saying how transparent he was going to be, and not one single thing was transparent. Nothing. And when they got their pay, remember, I think that's why, my guess is that's why him and BJ were fighting that week of the 21st, because she probably said, you better pay us, you know what I mean? And what happened? Nope. Eric not only didn't pay him, but he came and did more content. I mean, and didn't pay him. And then remember, there was text between him and Patrick saying, well, I'll borrow you the $6,000, but you got to pay it to the Whitakers or something. Something about like now they're playing, with Whittaker money. I mean, and they ended up getting less than $1,000. I think that's all they got too. They got the water bill paid. In any way, yeah, So, but if you back to the contract again at the very beginning, Eric, if I remember right, that contract said that Eric is going to be kind of in charge, right? It's in charge of the money, charge of social media, charge. Patrick, you do the content with Timmy and the rest of them. Whitakers, you be Whitakers. And I'll run the show, right? I mean, so he kind of from the beginning kind of took the reins. And then he's had that interview with Patrick. That was, I guess, Patrick and Eric, meet Patrick and Eric. It was very awkward. You could tell, they had just met, and right away you could tell that Eric was trying to be the professional that's in charge, and like the director of the show, you know what I mean? Like the director of the movie, you know what I mean? And
Exactly.
yeah, I mean, you could see that right away. And the very first time we saw meet Patrick and Eric, one was
But not only that, excuse me, but not only that, if you guys listen, everything was when he was doing the good things, right? Everything was me, it wasn't us. It was, remember, everything was me,
right.
and
Yeah.
mimicking him with his hand gestures towards his chest and stuff. Everything was that.
Yeah.
But then when everything went to shit, it became a responsibility for 2 people to share.
Yeah. He always took the credit, and he did kind of, make sure everybody know that, Patrick broke his leg. Now I'm really doing all the work. I was doing the work before. Now, so yeah, he's, I'm reading some comments. Yeah. Oh, hi. There's a bunch of people came in. Red Frog, and I think 2 Reds came in. Red Ridiculous and Red Frog, and I'm trying to find a comment. Somebody had a question. Oh, Florida Life said, when are the indictments coming out for May? Well, I just checked today, and they have already started coming out. So right now, they are coming out, and they said they're focusing on, trafficking charges and fraud charges. So they're starting to release a few names of people that are getting. So as of right now, they are starting to come out. So when am I going to record? Are you going to record the clean out job? I'm done with clean out jobs, to be honest. The people that I work for went out of business. So, well, I wasn't working for them. The realtors that I was doing those clean out jobs were forced out of business with COVID because they stopped evictions for like 2 years here. It ruined their business. So I just told them I'm going to retire. I retired at 55, so I was done. Didn't plan on it, but now I'm done doing clean outs. Unless sometimes other realtors will call me, but it's rare that I do them now. I don't do them every day. Yes, Eric was the me. Yeah, every sentence started with me, I, putting in his chest, you know what I mean? Pounding his chest, me, I. Yeah, I put up some videos, some older ones. Yeah, I used to do them every day, you guys. I did clean outs for years. And the only reason I have those videos is because I used to walk through the houses and I'd have to give the realtors a number that it's going to cost. And so I'd do a walkthrough and I would videotape it so I could go home, count the TVs and the mattresses and shit that was going to cost me. So, yeah, those were just for my own personal videos. That's why I'm mumbling to myself. I never expected to post those. Those were my own private videos for bidding so I could come up with a number. Uh, I think that's a nice thought, but everything new would be dirty again. Yeah, they would have had to. If, it really wouldn't have been that much, man. They had probably people willing to, probably within a couple weeks, they could have had 100 grand donated. Let's get real. And yeah, had they gotten a new place, didn't have to be Amish, could have brought in double wide, whatever. But had they done, they would have they would have had to have people come in on a regular basis. Probably social services could have had them some. They got people that do the home health care. You know what I mean? They got people that will come out, a certain amount a week and help clean. You know what I mean? I'm sure they were eligible for all that. It would have had to absolutely been upkept, and it would have had to have upkeep, constant upkeep, or they'd be right back to where they were next year. You know what I mean? I think Betty honestly was just getting too old and tired to handle. I mean, that's a lot of work every day. Well, thanks for coming, Red Frog. Have a good rest of the day. Personally, I think when Patrick saw Eric take over is when Patrick went rogue. Patrick. I think Eric took over from the beginning. Yeah. Yeah. So what do you think? Yeah. So I definitely think he's done all these things. Has he exploited them? Yeah. Has he taken? Has he made social media content and money from exploiting them? Yeah. And there's a whole nother video that I wanted to do, or maybe we can even talk about it in a future live stream. Is the grooming that happened, and calm down, everybody. I'm not talking only, or that it would have to necessarily be grooming for a sexual reason. Grooming can be done if you're going to exploit somebody, right?
Yeah, it does not have to be for sexual reasons. It
No.
can be just for manipulating, making somebody more comfortable so that you could take advantage of them financially. It doesn't have to have anything to do with actual anything.
Yeah, it's not only that, but so I looked over that and took a lot of notes and took some clips and stuff, and I absolutely believe that there was grooming going on with the entire family. And like she just said, I said, I'm not talking about it in a perverted kind of way. I'm talking about grooming is where you come into a family, you see somebody that you can exploit and make money off of. Okay, so it's a step-by-step process, almost like they have a manual, like they got a playbook. Step 1, do this. Step 2, do that. And you could go through that and go down the list and you check off almost every one. And just one or two things doesn't mean that somebody's being exploited, but you have more than 4 of these things or 5 of these things in these checklists. Yeah, it could, it does look like he was playing by some type of handbook of exploitation, because, and I'm not saying just Eric. Patrick did it in his own way, but Eric was almost like, much better at it. And in my opinion, yeah, he went step by step through a playbook. And if you go study exploitation, because I really looked into it, deep dove into it. Exploitation, and that leads you to grooming. And why? Because that's part of exploiting somebody. Is you have to, if it's a vulnerable person, you got to exploit that person the way that you need to. So what you have to do is first of all, you go to the people around them, the parents, the caretakers, or whatever. And so there's a step-by-step process for grooming to exploit somebody. And I have everything to make the video for it, but I think it'd be an interesting discussion. And yeah, like I said, not talking about him and Timmy in the bed, although that the exploiting handbook manual thing does kind of, anyway, it'd be interesting to talk about that. But yeah, in order to exploit vulnerable people, you do have to groom the people, the caretakers, and it's like a scientific process that seems to have been followed. I mean, I'm just trying to scan through the chat. Yeah, I did see that, Red. She said, y'all notice Mark is in the area doing interviews? Yeah, I told somebody. I just saw that he just interviewed a dwarf. What was the deal with the dwarf? An Appalachian dwarf. Anyway, that was a good interview. I liked it. Nice guy he interviewed. Appalachian dwarf. And yeah, he's doing a lot of interviews down there. Yes, it kind of dawned on me too. She said, like he's looking for the next best thing. Yeah, another Appalachian star family. Yeah, there's a lot of interesting people there. You can kind of find interesting people everywhere, but yeah, there's a lot of people. He's been doing a lot of interviews right in that area too. Mm-hmm. Well, down there.
I've heard a little bit about him being there. Somebody wrote to me and was like, maybe when he's done here, he'll help with the Whitakers. Maybe he is there for something. I don't know. I mean, I don't have any information about that. Because I can honestly say that Mark Lade is not my contact, just so we don't get that messed up, because somebody I was sharing the information I shared today with somebody who emailed me, and they mentioned Mark, and I didn't understand why. And they said, maybe when Mark's done, he can help. I don't know that Mark is there on anything. And again, he's certainly not the person I got the information from, so I don't want to mislead people.
Yeah, there's no way he's going to touch the Whitakers. In my opinion, no way. Why would he? Because, to quote Ernie, he said something about the money. He said the money's got cooties. I think, in Mark's opinion, this whole Whittaker story has cooties, and he doesn't want to get near it. You know what I mean? Right. Right now, no matter what he does, number one, there's legal stuff going on. Okay, he's not going to get involved in anything. Somebody's in jail. Somebody else might be. There's investigation going on. Hell no, he wouldn't touch any of the Whitakers right now. Come anywhere near West Virginia, who would? Okay, and he's smart enough to know. He's wealthy enough. He's not hurting for money. He's got no reason to inject himself right now in the middle of this, cootie fest. And so yeah, he's definitely doesn't want to get involved in legal stuff. And also, what could he possibly do to help? You know what I mean? And no matter what he does, somebody's not going to be happy. You know what I mean? So he's got all the content he needs. I just saw an interview with him last night. He did an interview recently. I think it was in December. He said he only does one a year. So I just saw his interview last night with some guy. And yeah, he's briefly touched on the Whitakers, but briefly. But he was saying that, man, he's got he's got people out there that are not only people call him and get a hold of him somehow. They want the story told, but he's got people out there actually getting people, rounded up for him. So he's got zero shortage of material and people to interview. You know what I mean? Yeah, he's got nothing to gain and everything to lose if he got involved with the Whitakers right now. I wouldn't blame him. I wouldn't blame him. Yeah, how can anybody help at this point? Yeah, it is. It's a hot mess. And until the legal stuff is taken care of, I don't know if anybody would be wise. I think you'd be well advised, not to.
Yeah, and I just want to say something that not that this was ever okay with what I think the family what should have happened with the family, but what do they say? There's a quote that says the human body is like 90% water, and liquid is the only element that can completely fill a space, and water is in 90% of our body, meaning that we will adapt, we will fit, we will make it. So after so many months of Timmy being in the place he's at, and Lorraine being there, and Ray being there, and them not being able to see the family, they adapt. It's too bad, but I think this is their new normal. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, now it's like this whole other thing. And there is no home for them to go to. So it's just incredible. It's incredibly, how I feel. It's incredibly sad, but to just put people's minds, basically at ease, the best, what I do is just realize that this is their new normal now. They don't expect to see Betty. They don't expect to go home, and they have, however they deal with it, have kind of, I think at this point, have dealt with that. So it's not like every day they're waiting to go home like I had in my head when they first got there. Like, do they have to spend another night? Are they going to spend another night? I think that now they've kind of like accepted that this is the way it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'm sure at first they were waiting to go. Are we going home? When are going home? Eventually, you stop asking, "Are we going home?" You're not going home, but they couldn't even verbalize that. You mean they're probably three of them making noises? Nobody knows what they're saying because none of the family's allowed to be around, especially at the beginning. Maybe not. Who knows if they have? But so far, they've had to learn on their own this language that they speak among themselves. I mean, now maybe they could. Timmy does know how to read and write, so Timmy might be able to write things out. You know what I mean? I thought about that because Betty said that Ray never went to school and Lorraine never went to school, but Timmy did. So Ray and Lorraine are illiterate. So if I was a therapist or working for the county, I would ask Timmy a question and have him write the answer out as best as he could. Even one or two words at a time. So I think there's an ounce of communication maybe Timmy could have done, but for the most part, they don't even know what they were saying.
Exactly.
It's like being brought to Russia or something, and in a hospital. You don't know what they're saying. They don't know what you're saying. There's no interpreter. You know what I mean? So imagine that, going to a hospital where nobody speaks English. You know what I mean? And there's no interpreter.
Yeah, there's nobody that could explain to the fan. Yeah, I agree. I agree.
So I probably took a couple months before anybody got woke up without or went to bed with thinking they're going to see anybody. Yeah, it's like putting somebody in prison. Eventually, you kind of get used to it. There's a routine. You start looking forward to lunch and breakfast and whatever, movie night or whatever the hell they're going on. But yeah, I don't know. Hopefully they get out and get some fresh air. But most of all, my number one hope for the three is that they're together. I mean, whether they get to go out or not, I think that's the most important. And I sure hope that at least they would get supervised visits at some point with, for sure, Betty, who took care of and raised them for her entire life, 70 years. I hope she gets visits. And like I said, I think maybe that's why she's distancing herself from at least BJ, because if BJ was one of the cause, if the house is the problem and BJ is the problem, well, it's no longer the house, and if she's not associated with BJ, maybe she'll get supervised visits. Because I'm telling you, if anybody thinks that they're gonna visit Timmy or Ray or Lorraine and get photographs, they'll never happen. Because if anybody ever gets visits with Timmy, Ray, and Lorraine, there's gonna be somebody close, and you're gonna be supervised like a hawk, and there isn't gonna be any selfies. There isn't gonna be any video or pictures. It's just gonna be maybe a supervised visit. You come there, you go in the day room or lunchroom or whatever they have, and you're supervised very closely. And I mean, I think that, and I'm sure Betty and the three of them would love that, or Larry or whoever. But I hope they can at least see somebody. You know what I mean? I hope somebody can see them. And anyway, because they're Ray and Lorraine are old, they're fragile, they're not in the best health, they have weak hearts, all of them have heart issues on medication, and Betty too, for that matter. So they're all elderly, they're fragile, they got poor heart, poor health. So I hope they can see each other soon. I mean, before it's too late.
I hear you.
I don't think there's a whole lot of time. And people die of broken hearts. Let's get real. And they already have heart issues. They've all had heart attacks. Every one of them, including Timmy, has had heart attacks. And so, let's just hope that their hearts hold out enough to get a visit at least. Yeah, I can't. I don't know why they're keeping them away. That's crazy. Somebody said when Timmy was with Job the Hutt at Airbnb after watching E.T., really effed up to watch this time. Chicks in the future. I'm not sure what that meant. I hope Mark Lyda gets him a lawyer. Well, if he would have, I think it would have been last fall. What I hope is that that civil attorney that lives in that area down there, there's a civil attorney who takes on court cases for the underdog, for people who are fighting the justice system down there in Raleigh County in Beckley. I forgot his name. Remember his name? But anyway, there's an attorney down there, and he takes on these cases and fights the court system for some. Anyway, forgot his name. But I hope maybe he could get involved or something. I don't know. I guess we're going to have to hope that the heavens are making things that are best for everybody. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Listen, I'm gonna ask if I could be dismissed because
yes,
not because of any reason, but I feel like what I had to offer has been offered, and it's kind of getting past my bedtime.
Yes, it is late for you. All right, well, very good. Well, thanks for coming on, Toddie. I appreciate it.
Not a problem, and thank you, chat, for having me, and thank you, Kathy, for having me. And as I find out more and more stuff, I usually, reach out to you. So, we'll do it again, I hope.
Yeah, we'll do it again. And we hope to hear some more updates, something that
that we could share.
That we can share, that we don't have to keep secret. All right, well, very good. Well, thanks for coming on, Toddie. Appreciate it.
All right. And bye, Grace. Bye, chat. Have a good one. Take care. Thank you.
Yep. Bye, Tony. All right, I'm gonna get into the chat here. Hope if Mark can maybe work with the state or county. Yeah, I just don't see Mark Lyda getting involved. I just don't really. Yeah, I just don't. I think he's gonna stay clear of the Whittakers. And not only that, there's been haven't you all seen comments here and there and everywhere and including his own channel, that are blaming Mark for what happened to the Whittakers? Mark has gotten blamed for what's happening to the Whittakers because he opened the door. Well, yeah, I don't blame Mark, but a lot of people have blamed Mark Lyda for opening up the door to all the other people that came, because it was Grand Central Station. Unable to connect to chat. Am I still on here? Yeah, I'm still on here. Okay. Try again later. All right. Yeah. And believe me, he's got the money. Yeah, he didn't know what happened. But you can't, it's like if you left the garage door open accidentally, and then some thieves came in and sold a bunch of your tools. You know what I mean? Yeah, you could blame the person that left the door open, but they didn't. You gotta blame the thief, not the person that left the door unlocked. Or, he didn't know. And everything he did helped them. Everything he did, when Mark came and Mark left, they were better off. They had all them home improvements. They had this, they had that. And and by the way, everybody has free will. That's right. That's the beauty of it. Everybody has free will. Nobody forced them to go in and take advantage of it. But yeah, there was one after the next, after the next, after the next. We had, let's see, there was like a parade. We had Mark come in, and then there was some people that were coming in. Remember, they were bringing food and dropping off and all that. And people like stopping by. Oh, hey, we just wanted to say hi or whatever. They weren't throwing rocks through the window anymore. That's good. But still, it was just random strangers, like they're a tourist attraction. It got kind of weird. And then you had that, I always call him Tony Oliveira, but his name is Tyler Oliveira. Tyler Oliveira. He had him come and go and drive a wedge and try to ruin the Mark thing, and then there was, and eventually then you had Patrick, and in a way, it kind of, if not only were they vulnerable, not only was Betty, Larry, and the three of them vulnerable adults that were taking advantage, in my opinion, but they also, they were helped by all the previous people. All the other people that came gave them something. Mark, they always made out good when Mark came. They made out good when this person came. They made out good when that person came. So they're not expecting to get, robbed. So, they never saw it coming. Yeah, Mark did improve their house. I made a video on all the improvements. And earlier when we first came on, Toddie mentioned that the refrigerator went out. Yeah, the refrigerator went out. No, they didn't. They didn't get a new refrigerator. I went through all the lists of stuff of the new stuff they got. They got a new stove. They got a new freezer, I think. I can't remember. They didn't get a new refrigerator back then. They got the laundry room was done. They had a bunch of improvements. They had a roof. They had siding. They had a lot of stuff done. And but yeah, so anyway, the refrigerator went out. The fridge went to Pat. Yeah. Remember. In fact, that's a good point because they were asking months ago that they need a new refrigerator, remember? And Patrick's like, yeah, I'll put on a Craigslist ad and they can get a hold of me. And I said, okay, looks like Patrick's getting a new refrigerator. The first stainless steel one that comes along. But he said, I'll go pick it up if somebody wants to give him a free one. Well, yeah, you got 10 people all of a sudden want to give you a free refrigerator. It's a pretty good gig. But so you remember, I don't think they ever got that refrigerator, did they? Because, well, now the refrigerator's out. So I think they're putting their food in coolers or something. I don't know. But they're hurting for money. They need some help. But yeah, so I don't know. I don't know about the refrigerator. I think that's been going out for a while. And if you look in the videos, that's an old refrigerator. And that's probably from the 80s, you know what I mean? Side by side or whatever the hell it was. Yes. Keep prayers for the family. Put some prayers and good vibes. Remember in Patrick's truck, and he said, I got packages for you at... Yeah. Yeah, I did the video about that. Yeah. So yeah, Patrick picks up the Whitakers and in the passenger seat filming is filming Betty. And Patrick's like picks them up and they don't even get 20 feet down the road, and Patrick's like, yeah, I got some packages at my house. But he's like, yeah, what? He's like, yeah, I got a bunch of packages. You got some boots and you got some coloring books. And you can see the look on her face like, what the hell? Why don't you have him go to my house? Yeah, well, but remember, Patrick said, no, everything's got to come to my house and I have to open it all. Because it's like, you know how like you send stuff to a prison and the prison has to go through it, make sure there's no contraband? Well, Patrick thought, he was the warden, and all the presents had to go to him, and he had to check the presents, and then he'll give them to you. Well, he didn't want to give out their address. Are you kidding? If you Google right now, Betty Whittaker's address, it'll come up. As a matter of fact, it's marked on the Google map. You know what I mean? We already know their address. And they're leaning against their address every video. Well, you too, Justin. You have a great night too. Thanks for coming in. Like I said, I hope your health is doing good and your family's doing well. Thanks for coming in tonight, Justin. Yeah, there is. It's like a tourist attraction. Just type in Google Whitaker's house. And red dot comes up, but just type in McDonald's or something, you know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah, so come on. It's not like we don't know where they live. They can open their own packages. Let them decide what's contraband. You know what I mean? Anyway. And that wasn't fair at all because it's not fair because they were supposed to get 100% of the donations, but they had no avenue to get a donation. Eric never found the 10 minutes it took all summer to, run into the post office and open up a P.O. box. What does it take, 10 minutes? He could open up a P.O. box and paid for 3 months or whatever, and they'd be rolling in the presents. Get the big one, you know what I mean? The one that holds boxes and stuff. And then they could have sent them gift cards. They could have sent all kinds of stuff. And so where is 100% of nothing is nothing? That's what it is. Worst thing ever is that Patrick should have had them open up on live. People asked if they got you know what? I even mentioned that too. You know what, Florida? I said, if they would have really been cool, and it would have been good for business too. Listen, if I put up a thing and I said, hey guys, here's my P.O. box if you want to send me some presents, right? And I put up a P.O. box. You know what I would do? I would make a whole live stream or a video out of me opening up your guys' presents. Oh, look. Oh, look, I got a coloring book. Oh, look, I got a pair of boots. Thank you, this person. Thank you, that person. And then the person that sent it would be, oh, they like my coloring books. Oh, they like the boots I sent. So you would know that, hey, I got my present. I mean, if my next door neighbor decides he wants to have all the presents go to his house, and he'll open them first, then you guys would say, well, how do we know she's getting the presents? Yeah. So that way it'd be good content, right? It would be reassuring to the people who are taking time, because you know what? It takes a lot to go buy a present and then wrap it up to go in the mail with the brown paper. You know what I'm talking about? Brown paper. And then tape it and all that stuff and write on it and then you got to go to the post office and weigh it and then you pay, and it's like 20. Postage is expensive now. You pay postage and you get a tracking number and all that, right? It's a lot of freaking work. But they should just, and yeah, you can like order off Amazon, Walmart, and just like put their address. It's kind of, even that's work, you know what I mean? But you spend all that money, you're going to, it's nice to see that they got it, they liked it or didn't like it, don't matter, but they got it. You know what I mean? He sidetracked everything to help himself. Well, yeah, I mean, he was the middleman, okay? We all know what the middleman is for, okay? The middleman ain't there to help you out. Middleman is there to make money. The middleman don't show up without getting something. Mm-hmm. And people are saying they sent in gift cards. Baxter was just sitting on that leg. Why not open them? Exactly. Then remember he was sitting in the bed all the time? Yeah. Hey, come over here, everybody. Gather around. We're going to open up these presents. So if you sent them a present, you have no idea if they got it or not. Yeah, I could have bought more funds too. Yeah. It could have brought it. Yes. Listen, to this day, Whittaker could still be getting stuff. You know what I mean? Goodness, they got nothing. Potato chips, some snuff, and their water bill paid. Yeah. Kind of like I take it. Yeah, right. Yeah, hey kids, get me your Halloween candy in here. Mom, let's make sure there's no poison in it. Yeah, I used to be an x-ray technician, and I used to work urgent cares at night. I worked family practice in the day. I worked urgent cares at night, and I worked almost every Halloween. My best stories, urgent care stories, are from Halloween. Every Halloween, it'd be crazy stuff. And but on Halloween, they would bring. We'd tell people that we'll x-ray your kids' candy for free, right? And when we started doing that, I'm like, well, I don't even know what setting to put on. So I set the candy to like a pinky finger setting. It's the same as a pinky finger, and it worked perfect, you guys. So I'm thinking to myself, people don't really put pins and razor blades. They don't put metal objects in candy hardly ever. So what I'm doing is I'm radiating the hell out of their candy. I'm soaking their candy with radiation, and you're still not going to know if somebody injected it with poison. That's probably what they would do. I mean, these sickos out there, but I thought that's kind of weird that I'm x-raying your kids' candy. You know what I mean? Anyway, I really never got that. But anyway, people brought the candy in, and I x-rayed it. The whole bag. And no, I never took a single candy bar. Okay, I look good, but I didn't. Let's see. Yeah. The Grinch that took Whittaker's pet. Yeah, it's a Grinch. Good night, Tenacity for the Truth. Thanks for coming in. I'll probably get off pretty soon. We got the sun going down. Yeah. Should have sent them where needed a signature to get packages. Yeah, right? You should have just sent them to Whittaker's house. Obviously, they weren't happy with the arrangement, right? And they would have no problem having people. Listen, people always send stuff to their house. All of a sudden, he's got to intervene and check it. Yeah, I agree. Though, should have put him. Should have opened them up on live. It would have been fun. Yeah. Lance said, "I've been listening, Kathy. That is what I have been seeing. Sorry for confusion. No problem. No problem." Yeah. Anyway, I'm backing up to see your guys' comments. Because, yeah, when I'm talking, I missed most of them. Yeah, but as far as Mark, nah, he's not touching this. He's not touching Whittaker's with the 10-foot pole. And like I said, you'll never, I would bet a large amount of money right now that you will never see Timmy, Ray, and Lorraine on a video again. Not a selfie with them, not a picture, nothing. Because whoever in charge of them is making sure that ain't happening again. You know, now I know some. I'm not gonna say. Yeah, there was enough money there. You know, yeah, what a shame. What a wasted. You know, and not only was it a wasted opportunity for the Whittakers, but it was a wasted opportunity for Eric and Patrick. Because Eric and Patrick, if they would have played their cards right and not got all greedy, in my opinion, they could have just paced themselves, paid the Whittakers, and listen, by now, they would have had another 6 months worth of earnings at tens of thousands of dollars a month. You know, had they not tried to grab, you know, the golden calf or whatever, the goose that laid golden eggs, if they wouldn't have tried to grab it all and got greedy, you know, if the greed wouldn't have been there and the bad intentions, if there would have been good intentions, you'd still be going. Hey, not my monkeys. Good to see you. Good evening to you too. Welcome. Hope you're having an awesome Friday night. Hope everybody's having a good Friday night. Hope you all had a good week. Hope this week treated you well. I had a good time this week. Yeah. Yeah, anyway, good to see you tonight, not my monkeys. Yeah. Yeah, so I've been out a lot doing stuff. But yeah, over the weekend, so yeah, in case anybody wasn't here earlier, I will be coming out with a video. It's supposed to be, it's supposed to, somebody is supposedly has some news for us. Some news of where everybody is at, and I'm not buying it. It was a wet week, but I'm putting together a garage sale, so I've been very busy. You know, speaking of garage sales, I was going to go garage selling today, but tomorrow is a citywide garage sale, and it's Mother's Day weekend every year. So I'm going to go to a citywide garage sale tomorrow. I think I'm going to. Yeah, it got cold and rainy here. Got cold and rainy here all week for a few days. Even froze at night. I had to bring all my plants inside. Oh, man. About 2 in the morning, I'm about ready to go to bed, and I'm thinking, I looked at the temp. It was 32 degrees. And I went out, and one of them got a little wilty, but I think I don't know if I make it, but most of them are fine. Yeah, I've had to bring them in at night. It gets cold. Still getting the freezing at night, but yeah. By now the house could have been refurbished because I've seen worse. Yeah, me too. I've worked on jobs. Look at the houses I've emptied out. I go in, me and my crew, we empty out the whole thing, make it completely empty. We tear up the carpets, tear down the curtains, all the window coverings, and all the floor coverings, and we tear out the kitchen cabinets, tear out all the appliances, tear out the bathroom, and then they come in and they redo the whole thing like new. You did the Dante things? Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, by the end of May, we're supposed to be done freezing, so I won't have to do it too long. But yeah, I've been finally getting out of the house after that was a long winter. It's cold, like they all are. Anyway, but yeah, I'll be doing a video about where are the Whitakers now. I'm gonna critique somebody's video. So anyway, hopefully I'll have that done tonight or tomorrow. That should be funny. But yeah, anyway, anything else? Otherwise, I'll wrap it up myself. So yeah, I think that is. We went over. Not my monkeys. I don't know if you were listening. But, anybody else that came in later. Toddie and I discussed a lot about the case, but just I read off Patrick's charges, and the same thing Patrick did is, it seems like Eric has done the same. It seems like Eric has done everything that Patrick got charged for. Exploiting vulnerable people, videotaping their disabilities and shortcomings for content and to make money, making promises for money or material things and not coming through, mishandling their money. Yeah. Those are the things Patrick's being charged for, and I don't see how Eric didn't do the same, because we don't even have to guess. We watched it with our own eyes. We watched it and we heard it, and our, video doesn't lie. So it's not like we're all guessing or spreading rumors. We saw it with our own eyes. We videotaped it. It's like these YouTubers that videotape their own crimes. A lot of them do it. Oh my gosh, I've seen people videotaping their own, raping people, what I mean? The stupid thing, robbing people. Do you guys see this new TikTok trend now where a whole bunch of teenagers run into a Scientology building and, just run through the place and piss everybody off and then run back out the building before anybody can call the police? It's just a weird. But yeah, they videotape their own crimes, and in my opinion, that's what Patrick and Eric did. They videotaped themselves. In my opinion, they videotaped themselves exploiting the Whitakers, not paying them money, making promises they didn't keep, and blackmailing. Like I said, I still haven't brought my blackmail video out. Blackmailing them. I mean, to me, I feel like they've kind of been doing some stuff like that on videotaping it. And I mean, yeah, they do videotape their own crimes, but yeah. So that's Scientology. And you know what, like the judge said, a lot of them been going to court. A lot of YouTubers are getting charged, and TikTokers are getting charged with crimes, as they should. And they said, like, they were going into businesses, a whole bunch of people like Matt, 6 or 8 young men would go into a business and take over and grab the mop and grab French fries and whatever. And anyway, these people are getting charged now, you know what I mean? And brought to court and getting charged and everything. And the judge said in one of the cases that none of these people would be doing this without without videotaping it. If there was no social media, if you weren't going to post this, you wouldn't have done it. It's just like back, in my day growing up, you just wouldn't do it because nobody's going to see you. But the only reason they're doing it is for, content. User says, I wish you and Toddie was in charge of Whittaker's. It could have turned out beautifully. So sad. The hell they have been through. Yeah, me too. I mean, I don't know about being in charge. I definitely feel like we could have done a better job. I wouldn't have robbed anybody. I wouldn't have done anything they did. I'm guessing that money talks in Raleigh County. Yeah, I'm wondering that too. You know what I'm saying? I've made videos of the shady stuff that goes on there. And remember the judge, I did a video on that judge in the Raleigh County Courthouse, and she was a family court judge. And she stepped down. But, yeah, there's a lot of places where money talks. But in that case, she would stop court, allegedly on more than one occasion. She would stop court and everybody get in their vehicles and head over to the person's house without a search warrant. And the one guy got that lawyer and sued the people. And it turns out she'd done it many times, allegedly. Imagine going to court and suing somebody, right? I've done it. And all of a sudden the judge says, hey, let's go to Kathy's house. And then I'm like, huh, what? Yeah, we're going to go to her house. Back up, everybody. We're going to Kathy's house. Why? We're going to make sure that you don't have any, any of those pictures that they were looking for. I'm like, what? And all of a sudden everybody leaves and they get in their cars, the sheriffs and the judge, and they all go to Kathy's house. And then they all go out and they make me open the door. And I said, I'm not going to open the door. She says, fine, we're going to kick it in. I'm like, okay. And they open it. This is what happened to this guy. And they said, the guy said, they came to my house. And I'm like, what the hell? And then the cops are all like looking around in the yard and they're looking in his shed. And the judge's like, open up the door. And they're like, he's like, I'm not unlocking my door. So, well, fine, we're going to kick your door in then. And he goes, well, wait. And he goes and unlocks it because he don't want his door kicked in. Then no search warrant. Then she goes in the house and she goes in the guy's living room, sits in his easy chair, kicks her shoes off and puts her feet up on the footrest on the ottoman, allegedly. And she sits and points at drawers and tells the cops to open that drawer. Open that cabinet, see what's in there. Yeah. That guy's like, what the hell? No search warrant. And turns out she's done it like a bunch of times. She was a family court judge in Berkeley. The same courtroom. Same. That's where they were. This is where the Whittakers were. With Eric. This is where Eric went. Same courthouse, same family court. And then the one up in the north part of the Panhandle up there, West Virginia, top West Virginia, was that other judge I did a video. And that judge was getting his way for a long time. He has everybody in his pocket. And that one lady said, I'm not, not falling for this stuff. And anyway, what did he do? Pulls out his Colt 45 in the courtroom and says, yeah, makes her get rid of her bodyguard. Pulls out a first aid kit for plugging bullet wounds. He said, in case there's a shooting in the courthouse. I'm thinking, dang, you hear about this stuff. But who knows? My guess is that, one thing about a small town, I would think, or probably maybe big towns, is that I don't think they ever want somebody, for some big city guy from another state, say, I don't know, Georgia. And I don't think they want somebody from Georgia, some city slicker, coming in exploiting their local people, and in which one of their locals gets arrested, but he gets away scot-free. First of all, I don't know how he's got connections in another state in a different courthouse he's never been to. Like he kind of alluded to. I mean, he did allude to it. Almost flat out said it, but absolutely alluded to it. But I don't know if they're going to let this guy off the hook, because would that make them look very good? In their own county, in their own state, would it look very good if this guy from Georgia came in and did this and only your local resident got arrested, but the out-of-state guy who really was the ringleader and all of it, he got away? I don't know. And I know they got plea deals. I don't know how that crap works. But even if one tattles on the other one, it doesn't get the other one all the way off the hook usually. And maybe gets the first, the one who tells on, like the one who tells on the other one first, I think usually gets a better deal, but I don't think it gets them off the hook. Eric may slip through indictments, but he can't slip away. That's right. Hey, the karma knows your address. Karma knows where you live. You can't hide from karma. That's right. Because sometimes karma doesn't have a jail cell in mind for you. You know, karma might have something else in mind for Eric. Maybe something would end up worse than a jail cell. But karma knows what karma's doing. And so if karma thinks that one of these guys or both of them belongs in a prison, then that's what will happen. If karma thinks something else should happen to them, then that's what will happen. So if Eric or Patrick, for that matter, if they either one or both get off of anything, it doesn't mean that they've escaped justice in the universe. It doesn't mean that karma is not hot on their trail. Not what you know, it's who you know. That's true. But how would Eric know somebody in Raleigh? I mean, from what I've heard from the locals, they didn't really care for Patrick. But how are they going to let some guy from another state come in and get away with? You know what I mean? Hey, listen, because what Patrick, was bad enough, but Eric came in and made West Virginia, Raleigh County for that matter. Eric and Patrick, whatever, in my opinion, made West Virginia look bad. It made them look like they don't know what they're doing. They're dropping the ball. The family justice system is out of whack. They're not. It made, I believe that it made their county and their state look bad. You think they don't know that? And they're not, Yeah. It is a good old boy. It's a good old boy system, right? And you expect that from a small town, especially. Of course it's going to be a good old boy. Believe me, my small town, we only have a police department. we go quite a way to get a police department. But believe me, I would expect it to be a good old boys. I mean, yep, karma wears spike heels. Yeah. Because sometimes karma can get you way worse than the legal system can. You know what I mean? A legal system can only go so far. Okay, they can give you prison time. They can even put you to death penalty or whatever. But they can only do so much. Karma has got such a awesome imagination. Karma does things that you would never think they could. I mean, yeah. Yeah, the earworm, the good old boys from Dukes of Hazzard. I used to own a General Lee car. It wasn't painted like that, but I had a General Lee myself. Yep, just the good old boys. But yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so they are beginning to do the indictments for May. They just started coming out. So every single day, I've been checking every day since Patrick went to court on March 9th. I think it was March 9th, 3/9. And that's the last entry in the court records. I've checked every day since March 9th. And sometimes in the morning and sometimes at night. But every day I've checked, and there's been not one entry on Patrick's thing. Now there was something on Facebook where somebody put I just saw a comment. Somebody put on Facebook that Patrick is going to get off scot-free after he rolls on Eric. But I've heard the vice versa too of that. Pork Chops says Eric Carroll has a framed picture of Hulk Hogan on his nightstand. That is possible. Now, just to back it up, but it could be true. Yeah, I can't find nothing on Patrick, and I've checked the circuit court records every single day since March 9th. And I'm starting to check Eric's name too. I'm surprised a local church hasn't involved in helping them. Yeah, I think the local churches there have probably very few members and very little money. You know what I mean? They live in a very rural area where, and they stopped going to church, the last few years too. So, yeah, and you know what I'm hoping maybe people are helping. I mean, the only two left is BJ and Larry. Okay, none of them live there anymore. Everybody is gone except BJ and Larry. Oh, and Kenny is down the road. But yeah, so BJ and Larry are the only ones left living there. So, we don't know. Maybe some people are helping them out a little bit. I know they're having a rough time with money. Netflix Hulk Hogan documentary was very good. Oh yeah, I didn't see that. I don't have TV, but yeah, he was something. I remember he started out as the good guy, and then he turned into the bad guy. Remember? He was a good guy for a really long time. Yeah, I brought my kids. I went to WWF wrestling twice. First time it was with some friends. The second time I brought my son there. I remember I had a Mercury Cougar, and it was a 4-speed. It was a clutch. And we were parking in the parking ramp, and it was up the spiral thing. Spiral, each level. And my car was overheating, and I had a clutch. And I was like almost going backwards, and the people behind me, and it was just like my car was overheating. It was just like I was a nervous wreck. Finally, we got off and get parked and everything, and we had a good time. Goldberg was there. Hulk Hogan wasn't there that time, but Goldberg was the hot item back then. I can't remember who else, but we bought some souvenirs and stuff. It was fun. Fake is all get up, man. You think it's fake on TV when you get there. It is fake. Really fake. And you got to pay like hundreds of dollars to have ringside seats, the floor seats there. They're really super expensive. And down there you could really see how fake it was. And those people got attention, and I think they threw some shirts out to them. They got extra attention. But we were in the outer seats and the nosebleeds and stuff. And me and my son had a good spot. We had a balcony we could see right down, but you could see how fake it was. So yeah, but anyway, it was still fun. I got a Goldberg keychain, and I don't know, he got a shirt or something. I can't remember. It was fun. Yeah, then I had to get my car. I had to get water for my car that overheated out in the parking ramp. It was cooled off by the time I got out. And then it was swirling down all the way. So anyway, I remember that. A lot of memories, man. But yeah, going to wrestling, we went twice. I went twice. Anyway. Couldn't tell my grandfather it was fake. It was soaps for me. Yeah, it is. It's soap opera. Yeah, 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 yeah. I watched it since I was a kid with Vern Gagne and stuff in the high school gyms. My dad took us WWF in the 70s. It was Haystacks, Calhoun, and Chief Whiteout. Remember the Undertaker? They had a lot of characters. And you know what? One time I deep dove into these wrestlers, right? Because I noticed a lot of them were dying, right? So I went on Wikipedia and I typed in wrestlers that died. Wow, you guys, wrestlers have a very high mortality rate. They die of all kinds of strange things. Um, yeah, wrestlers are a very high mortality rate, you know, outside the ring. Yeah, Johnny Powers. Yeah, I remember back in the 70s, Vern Gagne and remember the claw? The guy would grab his own hand with the other hand, and he'd make a claw thing, and the claw was like out of control, and he couldn't even control it. Even as a kid, I'm like, okay, I'm trying to believe this, right? I'm trying to believe it. Trying to believe this is real. Yeah, the claw. Remember the claw? Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just entertainment. Then it got real soap opera-ish, and I mean, it was all soap opera with maybe 3 minutes of wrestling, and then more soap operas, 3 minutes of wrestling. Yeah, and then everybody's girlfriends are involved. And remember, even Trump himself. Trump made some bet with Vern Gagne. I mean, somebody just died. Who was it? Ted Turner just died yesterday. But anyway, Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon didn't he just get a DWI? I just saw him on the news for something. Oh no, I remember. Vince McMahon had his I don't know if it was a Porsche, some car. He was going 100 miles an hour, literally, and yeah, and he hit the back of some lady, and the cops were behind him. Well, they pulled him over, and he got the royal treatment, the celebrity treatment. And yeah, that was just a month ago or something that he got in an accident. Yeah, he got treated like a celebrity, and they just gave him a ride home. The cop's like, why you were going over 100? He said, well, I got to get to my granddaughter's birthday party. You went to school at Sable Arena? Yeah, we had some Minnesota wrestlers too. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, but the girlfriends all got involved. Remember, Macho Man Randy Savage with what was her name? She died of overdose. I forgot his girlfriend, and yeah, just how soap opera. Anyway, that was the days of our lives for the men out there. Yeah. Yeah. All right, let me make sure I'm not missing anything too important. I don't know if I missed your question or comment. You can put it in there again. Otherwise, I'll probably wrap up here. Yes, Miss Elizabeth. Thank you. I couldn't think of her name. Miss Elizabeth. Elizabeth. Yeah. Roddy Piper. He died young too. Yeah. Is Macho Man Randy Savage still alive? I don't know. A lot of them die of bad hearts, freak accidents, you name it. Yeah, very high mortality rate. And not a lot of them live to be old age. Yeah. But anyway, Trump and Vince McMahon had a bet, and one of them lost the bet or something. So Trump held down Vince McMahon and shaved his head. It was so fake. Oh my god. Yeah, Savage died in a car crash. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, another tragic ending, you know what I mean? A lot of them have tragic endings. I don't know what it is. Wouldn't want to be a wrestler. My dad was friends with a bunch of pro wrestlers. They tried to get him into pro wrestling. Oh yeah, yeah. Actually, they were. St. Paul, Minneapolis did have a lot of like. They had a lot of wrestling and promotion and stuff. Miss Elizabeth. Yeah, he died in a car crash. Yeah, but you can go back since wrestling, even before TV. They have records, but they got records of pretty much all of them dying prematurely. Not of old age. Yeah. I like Randy Savage, Macho Man Savage. Yeah, that's funny. But but Eric was a big fan of Hulk Hogan, huge fan, and a huge fan of Ozzy Osbourne, and both of his heroes died in like the same week. So, yeah, poor Eric was devastated. He's got a picture of himself with really young, with Hulk Hogan. He was doing autographs somewhere, a restaurant. I think Hulk Hogan owned a restaurant in Florida. I think he had his own restaurant or something where he would do meet and greets sometimes. Probably brings in the business, But yeah. So, well, anything else before I get off? I guess I'll wrap it up. We will, well, you know what I hope? I hope I come on here with the exciting news that there has been an arrest. And remember, if Eric gets indicted and transported to Raleigh, he'll be against that same exact wall, the brick wall down at the arrest place. I don't know where they go, but they get arrested, and there's a concrete wall that every Whittaker photograph we've seen and Patrick's has been against. So hopefully, I don't know. Hogan Hangout. Is that it? It was in Florida. I know he. Are you gonna send him put some chips on his books if he goes to jail? We'll make sure that he gets potato chip money. But I think Hulk Hogan lived in Crestview. You know why I think I know that? It's because I've been to Crestview, and I've been to my ex-brother-in-law used to be at the Eglin Air Force Base. I think it was at Eglin Air Force Base. We went to Eglin Air Force Base and we went to Destin and Fort Walton Beach and Niceville. Yeah, we can all chip in for the chips. Hey, we're gonna pass the hat, and we want everybody to chip in. Eric needs a bag of chips, and we ain't splurging on the Amish chips, okay? After all, if he's gonna be in jail, we can't baby him, so we're not splurging on these Parisville Amish chips, okay? But they're gonna have to be like the Great Value or something. Not even the Lay's. We're gonna. I think what's Walmart got? Great Value. We're gonna chip in to get some Great Value potato chips and send them down to the jail. And maybe we'll say, this was good enough for Lorraine. Hey, if it's good enough for Lorraine, it's good enough for Eric. It'll make Eric chipper. Yeah. Better than in the wood chipper. I'd rather be chipper. Send him some Hulk Hogan pull-ups and chips. Do they have Hulk Hogan pull-ups? You know, he may need them if he gets arrested. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, here's a what if. If Eric got arrested, do you think his wife would bail him out? You think his wife would put up the house? Because you guys, when it's a really large, I saw a lawyer talking about it, and they said because it's different in different places. But I was watching a comment section. I don't know if the guy's a lawyer or not, but he said in that county, if your bail is over 100,000 or something, a certain amount. If it's over a certain amount, you have to put up property value, your property for collateral or whatever. Your property has to be worth more than the bail. So you can't just like bring a suitcase full of money in there or write a check. I think it has to be, what do they call it? A surety bond? A surety bond, I think it's called. And if you look at Patrick's court stuff, you can look on there. It said, what was his bond? 150,000, whatever it was. It's when he bonded out, it said surety bond, and I think that's when somebody has to put up their house. So if Eric gets arrested, wifey is going to have to, get some chips on the way right off the bat, and then, get a bail bondsman and sign that house. Anyway, like I said, karma's a bitch. You know what I mean? I hope she doesn't mind me calling her that. No, I take it back. I take it back. Karma is fair, okay? And karma knows where you live, and karma doesn't forget. Yeah, damn, chips. He can get some chips. Yeah. So, yeah, you can run, but you can't hide. Well, you can try to hide, but it ain't gonna work. Karma's got X-ray vision. Yeah, nothing but the off-brand. That's right. People, huh? Can't live with them. That's it. But yeah, maybe we can send him a pinup poster of Hulk Hogan for his jail cell. Did they let you do that? Can you send the people in jail a poster? Did they let you put up posters? I don't know. Maybe he can just draw Hulk Hogan and put it on his wall himself. But, crazy world, can't make this crap up. No, you can't. No, I don't even think anybody could have written this as some type of a Saturday afternoon movie. If you come up with a bond of that amount, then you can't ask for a court-appointed lawyer. That's a good point. That's a good point. So that's what I thought too. I thought, okay, wait a minute. First of all, Patrick's got to come up with all this money for a bond, and then you got to come more money for a lawyer. Yeah, so I think Mama had to put up her house because Patrick's house is not worth 100,000. His house is worth and what was it, you guys? I showed it one time. I think it was 20,000 or something. I didn't know if it was that. It was a bargain. Generic black and white. Oh, remember the black and white? When generics first came out, they were black and white labels, and sometimes it was yellow and black. It just looked gross. It was such a turnoff. Yeah, never thought. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, Mommy probably put up her house as long as it's less than 12 inches. I have no idea what that means. I forgot what I was just saying. What did I just say that could have been 12 inches? I don't know. I forgot. 150 bond. Yeah, it was 150,000, wasn't it? Yeah. So, yeah, Eric's I mean, Patrick's house is nowhere, and they're not going to take that house in that condition as collateral, right? Because if the bail bondsman loses the money or whatever, somehow they're not going to lose. It's a win-win for the bond. Okay, it's for the bail bondsman. You screw up somehow, they're going to get your property, but they don't need something that they don't need that. Okay, they're not. They need something that they can get their money out of. You know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, I'm pretty sure the mom lives up the road. I've seen the house. The mom's got a decent looking house. The property worth more than yeah, for sure. The property really anywhere, especially there, is not worth very much, I mean, there's 17 acres that the Whitakers own. That ain't worth that much even. People were saying, they got 17 acres, they should sell a bit. Are you kidding? 17 acres isn't really that much. I mean, around here, most people have 40 acres. Some have 30 acres, some have 40. The guy next to me has 40, and the other guy has 70. And you guys, 40 acres ain't even that much. So 17 acres, and if you, anyway, it was ridiculous for people to say, sell part of it. It's not even accessible. You need an easement. Anyway, it's ridiculous. And even if, you sell half of it, which isn't even possible, you come out with a couple $1,000, you know what I mean? Yeah, it's just not, yeah. And it's hills, it's rough terrain. Who knows what part of it's in a flood zone, what's not. Yeah, anyway. And on top of it, remember, there was multiple Whittakers that they don't even know on that property deed because it was supposed to stay in the family forever. So their forefathers or their whatever ancestors, whoever it was, maybe their own parents, made it so it's in a whole bunch of people's names. So it's a group property. Multiple people own the Whittaker property. So they couldn't sell it if they wanted to. I think some of the people they can't contact, some of the people aren't even alive. It would take a lawyer's, mining land is valued differently. Yeah. Yeah. So I looked at the property value. It wasn't much. It's still in the father's name. Yeah. And the father passed away, you'd have to get an attorney, and you'd have to get the signatures of all the other Whittakers who have a piece of that property, who own a part of it, you know what I mean? In today's world, 17 acres is like a quarter acre. Yeah, it's not a lot. It's not as much as people think. Before I bought this house, I looked at a property that had 80 acres. And at the time, it was only $80,000. And it had a crappy house that needed to be bulldozed. And I thought, well, I could buy this. I could live in a camper on there for a while and blah, blah, blah. And I thought, that's too much work. But the point is, I checked out that 80-acre property. You guys, it's barely a city block. You know what I mean? It's not a lot. Like you go down to the dirt road, you take a right, go down the next dirt road, take a right, the next dirt road, take a right. That's your 80 acres. It's not 17 acres is not a lot. You know what I mean? 40 acres isn't even that much. I can see where his property starts and ends. It's not very much. So yeah, people say, oh, that's 17 acres, like they're millionaires, like they're the Clampetts or something. No, it's really not worth anything, and it's impossible to sell it. So yeah, if we were the only two left there, like Larry and BJ, I would probably just live on that property because it's rent free. You know what I mean? I don't know who's paying the taxes. Not my business. But property taxes here is horrible. Yeah, but there, I think it's pretty cheap. And if you have just land without a structure on it, wow, it's super cheap. Without any outbuildings or home or any structures on it, and their property has no structures on it across the street, where the place they actually own across the street has no structures on it. And as a matter of fact, as long as they keep living in a camper that they keep the wheels attached, if you keep the wheels on it, you are a moving structure, and it's not permanent. Now, if you put in a mobile home, take the wheels off and drop it onto a foundation, then it's fixed and immovable, and now you're going to get your property taxes are going to count it as a structure. So if they're smart, they're just bringing something, keep the wheels on it, and you hardly pay anything for taxes. No, they would need them to sign it over and possibly buy it. Yeah, that's the thing. You gotta. Yeah, so say they got $5,000 for their fucking half the property, you're gonna have to split that with 20 other people or whoever owns it. And yeah, and they probably can't find half of them. Some probably don't even know they're on the deed. You know what I mean? So yeah, better just to keep the land. It's always a place you can live, even if you have a tent. You know what I mean? And you have to pay taxes on the time divided. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Well, yeah. I was shocked that when I sold my last house, I was shocked at how little I had to pay for taxes. And I made a lot of money off that house, and I didn't have to pay. Anyway, you really don't have to pay that much when you sell property for taxes. It was a fraction of what I thought it would be. But yeah, and then you got to get a lawyer, or not even a lawyer. You have to get a real estate agent involved, and they're going to take a chunk right there. I think I saw it 17 acres. Yeah, it's about $300 a year. It could be $100 a year. Depends on the property. But yeah, it's only going to be a couple $100 a year. You know what I mean? I would never even think about selling a piece of property. That cost you $300 a year. Oh, he just brought you an ice cream cone. Ah, I love ice cream cones. Oh, that's a nice hubby. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Here for ice cream, man. It's getting hot out. I bought some ice cream bars, and I try to stay away from ice cream because it's fattening. But I bought some ice cream bars because they were on sale. They were like usually $9 for a box. They're Blue Ribbon, I think. Blue Ribbon. I don't know. Brought them home. Had one, and it's got the weirdest texture. I don't even think it is ice cream. Yeah, almost when you take a bite, it feels like taffy. So I took a knife and I sliced the chocolate off it. I gave it to my dogs. They liked it, huh, guys? But yeah, I love Dairy Queen too. Yeah, they got the good stuff there. They got the soft serve, man. Yeah, I haven't been to Dairy Queen in years. Yeah. But yeah, that ice cream is gross. It was like taffy. It had weird weird texture. You bought an ice cream machine? Really? Like a soft serve one? Does it make its own? Oh, you mean like it makes ice cream? Yeah. I remember those. Ice cream machine. Yeah, you put in the cream and the sugar, whatever, it makes it. You work at Dairy Queen? Really? You work at a Brazier where they make hamburgers too? Or just ice cream part? The Braziers are open year round. We got a Brazier in our town. Every little town has a Dairy Queen. Regular ice cream you plug in now. Really? That's cool. So you work at it, so do you get free food or what? Like after 3 hours of working or something, a certain amount of hours you work, you can get a meal or something? I used to like their hamburgers, and then last time I went, it was kind of weird. Yeah. But we work at, I go to Dairy Queen. I think I've been there twice in 10 years. And, yeah, there's never anybody there, and I think it's kind of stale or something. Yes, mine is a grill and chill. Oh, yeah, that's what we have, a grill and chill. Yeah, hamburgers and stuff. So, Miss January, what's the best thing there to eat? Is it hamburgers good or what? I've been there a long time. Yeah, hamburgers. They got like chili dogs. I'm not into the pork so much, hot dogs, but I like the hamburgers. If I go to Dairy Queen, what do you suggest? I haven't been there a long time. I'm like a bear coming out of hibernation, and yeah, I'm going to be roaming in the area. My dog just moaned. A banana split from Dairy Queen. Oh, old-fashioned homemade banana ice cream. Oh, yeah. You love the hot dogs? Yeah, they're good chili dogs. That sounds good. Yeah, I'd like a hamburger and some french fries. Yep. That sounds good. Yeah, I've been driving down there lately. We have a Hardee's, and sometimes I go to Hardee's. I go to, if my friend wants to go to McDonald's, we'll go to McDonald's. Tropical blizzards? No, they cheap. We get 10% discount. I clean the ice cream machines. We used to have all beef hot dogs. I like the chicken strip. Oh, I saw somebody on a video eating a chicken strip basket from there. It looked good. They were big chicken strips. Funny story, hubby ordered a big brazier. He's in the wrong store. A big brazier one time because he didn't know the word. Not. Yeah. Now I won't be able to look at the Dairy Queen brazier without thinking about it as a brazier. Hopefully I don't, get dyslexic when I order something next time. Yeah. I'll take one of those big braziers if you got it. I'm really hungry. Don't give me a small one. Right. Yeah. Yeah, I should go there sometime. I've been driving by it. I should go there again. It's been years. Kind of got mad because I went there and there was nobody there. I sat there like 10 minutes before somebody decided to, I don't know, show up and take my order. And then it didn't taste like it usually does. So I don't know. I never went back. But I don't know. I've been thinking about maybe bringing the hatchet and going back and giving them another chance. I'll tell them, okay, maybe maybe last time was a fluke. We're going to try this again. We're going to give them a second chance. Because that's how I am. I give second chances. Even to food places. I like that used to be I love the Mr. Misty Freeze. It's called the Mr. Misty Freeze. I don't know. Yeah, I used to get the cherry. And they would put it in a blender and put ice cream in it. It was the bomb, man. I had them when I was young. I'd cut the grass and I'd drive to Dairy Queen and get a cherry Mr. Misty Freeze. Yeah, with the vanilla ice cream. We serve breakfast. Oh yeah, breakfast. I didn't even know they had breakfast. I don't know if ours really would go that far. Our Dairy Queen does as little as possible. But yeah, I didn't even know they did breakfast. Is it good or what? I go to Hardee's for breakfast right next door. They got a Hardee's next door, so I like Hardee's. How much is the big brazier? Yeah, and what size would you put it? Would you guess? Yeah, I didn't know Dairy Queen had breakfast. That's news to me. I try to stay away from fast food, but I don't know. Lately, I've been getting out a lot. That sounds good. Sounds really good. I had a steak today. I had leftover steak. I had steak with sauteed mushrooms. I had a sirloin steak that I tenderized. Back when it was like $3 or $4, huh? Well, maybe I'll give it a try again in the next few days. And maybe I could do a food review, huh? I'll go to Dairy Queen. I'm gonna get it. I'll tell you what I'm gonna get. I'm gonna tell them that I was recommended to get the chicken strip basket. It came highly recommended. And then when they give it to me, I will do a Dairy Queen chicken basket brazier review. You will take extra large. Yeah, I'll take an extra large. I'll take the jumbo. I'll take the family size. My garden is good, but I got to keep hauling my plants in at night because it's freezing. That's why, yeah, we can't put them in the ground to the end of May. Memorial Day weekend is the first we can plant. Otherwise, I got to bring them inside every night. And then when I bring them inside every night, excuse me, I bring them inside every night, I got to hide them from the cats. Because they'll either try to use it for a litter box, or they will just, for the hell of it, they will take every plant and just destroy it. Knock them over. I don't know what goes on here when I'm sleeping, but yeah, they will. So I not only had to haul them all in, but I got to put them in my furnace room where they're not allowed. Yeah, I had steak and sauteed mushrooms. Mushrooms sauteed in butter and garlic. Oh, my goodness. I actually had 2 cans of mushrooms on that steak. I love them so much. Yeah, so I had steak and mushrooms. Nothing else. That's all I ate today. Steak and mushrooms. So yeah, I'm getting kind of hungry. All this talk about chicken strips and stuff. Have you seen those little greenhouses made from the cow pig fence? No, but I'm in the market for a little greenhouse. Are you talking about like for plants? Or literally a greenhouse? Yeah, I think I'm gonna make my own greenhouse. I think I just decided that. I remembered. Yeah, I talked with myself last night. We decided that yeah, I think I'm gonna make my own greenhouse. I think I can. Yep, I think I'm going to make my own greenhouse. I built a shed. And I think I'm going to do it the same, except the walls and the roof can be that corrugated plastic or whatever. Yeah. You made one a few years ago? Yeah, I think I'm gonna. I've been looking at them online, and I thought, I got a woodshed full of lumber and stuff. Every time I used to clean up the job sites, I would keep all the lumber that was new, usable, cut up from the job site. So instead of bringing it to the dump, I would stop home, pull all the wood out, and then go to the dump. And I did that for years. So I got a shed full of lumber. I thought, yeah, I'm going to use my own lumber and make my own. Mushroom Swiss. I had my son's friend I've known him since he was a kid. Every time we went to Hardee's, he always had the mushroom Swiss burger. Yep, at Hardee's. Usually we had the mushroom Swiss burger at DQ. My location got rid of it a few years ago. Yeah, I don't see it as a popular item. I don't know if I ever tried it. It's the only thing he would order. You have a 6x10, that'd be big enough for me. I would need nothing more than a 6x10. It'd just be for starter plants. And also, are there some plants that I don't need to advertise? But though I need to put those in there too. They call those hoop houses. Yeah, I was just looking at those hoop houses. I'll send you a picture of mine if I knew or you could see it. So on Facebook, they've been advertising. This guy advertises hoop houses, and it seems pretty. They're better than normal ones. They look sturdier. You know, I need something that's going to hold the snow next winter. You know, so don't cave in. You know, get some old. Oh, I do. Old windows. Oh, as a matter of fact, I've got another building in the back of my property. Guess what's in that building? A bunch of old windows that I got off jobs. That's another thing I used to say when I emptied out construction sites and stuff. They would have me once they were done with construction. Once they gutted the house and stuff, they would come in and do it, and then they'd have me come and take all the debris and all their stuff to the dump. And whenever they had windows, I was throwing them in the trash, and then when I got to the dump, I'd get all cut from the glass and crap. So I started setting them aside. And I thought, you know what? Heck with that. I'm going to bring these windows home and start saving them for a greenhouse. And so I could even show you on a video tomorrow. I could show you that I have a shed full of windows for a greenhouse. I was thinking that too. I could frame in a greenhouse and then put all them old windows in it. You know what I mean? Yeah, I do. I have those too. In a totally different shed. Actually, it's an old abandoned house that I have. Somebody, I guess, I don't know, it's like from the 1800s. But anyway, it was dry in there, so I put all them windows in there. So yeah, I forgot I have those windows too. My son is putting one in. It's 10 by 12, and he's raising it about 3 feet off the ground. Yeah, I've seen some where they put like that plastic down and some nice gravel and stuff, so ain't no weeds. We sold a lot. I didn't like the smell of the sauce. Are you talking about the mushroom burger? Yeah. I have a collection of windows that we've been collecting because I wanted to make one, but we came across this one used, and it's good enough for me. I only use it for starter plants. That's probably about all I would use it for, is starter plants. I had a couple of special plants last year that at harvest time somebody tried to steal, if you know what I'm talking about. So I'm going to put those away this year in a different... So I want to get a greenhouse for that, but yeah, mine's just for starter plants too, because they all need to go into the ground sooner or later. Google window greenhouses. They're a lot. Yeah, I did. Yep, I saw how other people did it. I had that idea. And then I thought, I wonder if anybody else ever thought about this. And I Googled greenhouse made out of old windows, and everybody thought of it. I thought I had some new invention, the brightest idea ever. And I looked, and yeah, everybody's done the old window greenhouse. I thought that was like I had original idea, but no, yeah, I've seen a lot of pictures. I'm not the first one that thought of it. Yeah. So yeah, I'll show you a picture of my woodshed. It's a mess right now with all my lumber. And then I have another shed, or another little house thing that has all my windows, and I could show you that. And I'm going to try to put the two together and make a greenhouse. Yep. Yeah, he has a bunch of palms he wants to overwinter in there. Yeah. Yeah, ain't nothing going to survive out here over winter here, but I had those right in the garden. Yeah. Yeah. After Memorial Day weekend, everything can be in the ground, but up till then, yeah, it's still freezing. It's still literally 30. It's going to be 31 and 30 the next couple nights. So, yeah, I got to bring them in every night and then hide them from the cats because they're nosy as hell. Anytime I start bringing them anything in the house, what's that? What's that? It's like, never mind. Our palms took a bad hit. This one, really? Did they freeze? No. Palms are beautiful. I wish we had palm trees up here. Yep, YouTuber Roots and Refuge has a huge greenhouse. I salvaged it. Really? Roots and Refuge, huh? That sounds like right up my alley. They look awesome and unique. Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking about doing that. I thought, would it look too junky? Would it look like crap on my property? It's gonna look like something that should be torn down right away, or is it gonna be cool looking? Anyway, he's gonna hear this. Yeah, they are unique. Yeah, I don't need much. I need just a little tiny greenhouse. I gotta figure out where I can put it that the sun's gonna hit it all day. You know, I got a lot of trees around here. Yeah. Yep, I would, yeah, I figured I'd put in, I'd dig the concrete footings and put in footings and go from there. That's how I'd made my shed. No plans, just get a shovel and a bag of concrete and get to work. You have palms in your front yard? Oh, I love palm trees. That was the fun part of going to Florida, was seeing the palm trees and stuff. In Charleston, South Carolina, I've been there. They had palm trees. It was really cool because I went there at Christmas time, and they had Christmas lights on the palm trees, which I thought was funny. And it was warm out. It was crazy. It's like I was in, the Twilight Zone. Eric Carroll loves to drink. Yeah. It does appear like that. Now, I got no concrete evidence, but I do agree that it does appear like he does. Seems to be a two-fisted drinker. Now, it's okay to have a cocktail, too, you know what I mean? But you just don't want to get, like, plowed when you're doing a live stream in front of 80,000 people. You got to go to bed early. Whoa, 4 o'clock in the morning, UK, yes. You are, I know somebody in the UK, and she's 6 hours ahead of me, you're right. Good night, look after yourself. Well, thank you, Lance. I appreciate that. You look after yourself, too. Have a good day at work. Or whatever you got to do. But, yeah, 4 a.m., you're up really late. I appreciate you staying up so late and joining us. I appreciate that. It's going above and beyond. Thanks, Lance. Thanks for coming in tonight. You put yours on large patio blocks? Why? So doesn't freeze or what? It'd be cool looking. They even have a few stained glass windows in there. You would love the channel, I believe. Yeah, I should check it out. Yeah, them stained windows are cool. I've sold a few of those stained windows, stained glass, with the lead in there. That would be nice to have a couple of those, because the sun's catching it. You know what I mean? All day, it'd always be lit up. That's cool. You have very large live oaks in back with the moss hanging. I love watching the moss with the window. You know what? That's funny. So that's off an oak tree, huh? So First time I went to Florida, we pulled down the road, going to our relative's house. We have family down there, and we saw one of them trees with all the moss hanging. And it looked like something out of a scary movie. And then we noticed that they were everywhere. I know we were going to Waffle House. We started seeing those trees with the stuff hanging. Like, what in the heck is that? Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, those are interesting. Wow. Thanks, Lance. No, flat patio squares just for, yeah. That's what I was thinking too. Maybe put some plastic down and put the patio squares, or maybe some limestone rock or something. Yep. Watched Female Trouble from '74 the other night. Great movie. Gator reminds me of Eric C. Female Trouble from '74. Is that the name of it? Eric, huh? Hey, his character. They should make a movie out of him. I will contribute anything I have for that movie. Live oaks are protected by law. Really? Why is that? Are they going extinct? Do you not have a lot down there? I mean, I probably got 100 of them on my property at least. I got mostly birch trees up here, but we got pine trees. We got oak and maple. Lots of oak, lots of maple. But yeah, I didn't know what kind of trees those were with all that moss hanging off it. I didn't know that those were oak trees, or I don't know what kind of tree it was underneath all that. But that was interesting. I didn't know oaks are protected by law in Florida. Are they rare? And they can live a long time. That's for sure. They're like an old tortoise. Huh. That's interesting. Yeah, that stuff looks cool. Does it take years for that moss to grow like that, or what happens? Is it shaded, or what? Why does some trees have that and others don't? Is it just the oak trees? Yeah, that's interesting. My dogs are giving me weird looks. I think I have to get off of here. They're giving me the side eye right now. They're like, they know their chicken's not in the oven, which they're not happy with. Anyway, I should probably get off here. They were to anchor it down to also blocks worked. Great to screw it down. The wind doesn't. Yeah, that's the one thing too. The wind can catch those greenhouses and toss them right over. Yep. Bust those things up, even if they're plastic, just as well. Yeah. I definitely plan on anchoring mine down, because that I know. I've seen what the wind can do up here. Dang. All right. All right, guys, so I'm going to wrap it up. I'll be back again. I'm being pressured right now by my dogs to get my ass over and cook them something at the sink there. All right. And I'm going to have a video coming out with somebody who's claiming they know what the Whitakers are doing right now. So anyway, I'm going to be going over that video either tonight or tomorrow. So I'm sure glad I jumped on here and didn't miss you tonight. Well, I'm glad you jumped on too. I'm glad you guys all jumped on here. We'd missed any one of you. back in the Spanish invaded Florida, they used moss for stuffing pillows and beds. They got red bugs. Isn't that so? They thought it looked fluffy, huh? Yeah. Yeah, they're giving this. Yeah, they want their chicken. They're looking at each other like, what's with her? She's talking and it's not to us. Yeah. All right. Yeah. You have a great weekend too. I want to say thank you to everybody that came on. Thank you for the thumbs up. I appreciate thumbs up. I appreciate you guys coming. I appreciate your comments. I appreciate your input. Appreciate all you guys. As always, it was fun. Thanks again to Toddie for coming in and giving her input. And yeah, I'll be coming on again soon. Maybe in a few days. I don't know. I don't like to promise in case. You know, while I was sitting here, I had a wood tick. That's why I had to go to the sink and flush it down. I just got a wood tick was crawling on my elbow. So anyway, he went down the sink. He's surfing in the, I guess he'd be out in my septic right now. Anyway, so thank you. Everybody, yes, thank you for reminding me Florida Life in the Sun. Everybody, I wish you all a happy Mother's Day. All the mothers out there, happy Mother's Day to you. And I hope everyone has a great day. If I don't talk to you guys by Sunday, anyway, I hope you all have a great Mother's Day. And yes, love you too. I love you all. Love you too. Thank you, user. And yes, and prayers go out to the Whitakers. Thank you, user. I appreciate that. Great live Moz chat. Yes, thank you, Miss January. Thank you, everybody. Yep, happy Mother's Day, everybody. Thanks for coming on. Peace and blessings to everyone. Love you all. Everybody have a sorry about that, you guys. Anyway, I want to thank everybody for coming. Bless you all. Peace, prayers, and blessings. And I wish you all the best. Thanks for coming. Peace.